teach you, and a few stories that matter. We'll test what you know and teach each other something new along the way. Lock in your Fridays in February. Be ready to call in and bring your brain with you. Dr. Ken's Trivia, Friday in February on Truth in the Afternoon with me, Dr. Ken Harris on 1017 The Truth, YouTube, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
All your favorite interviews and best moments live in one place.
You know, I'm working in the morning, and I was listening back on the Truth app.
Download the new 1017 The Truth app now. Milwaukee Black Talk. 1017 The Truth. Breaking news, weather, entertainment, and sports. We have it all here. This is 1017 FM, 1510 AM WGKB Waukesha and W269DL Milwaukee, a locally owned Good Karma brand station.
This is the Bloomberg Black Business Beat. Melody Hampton is one of the most successful black women in business today. And now she's got her eye on women's sports, spearheading a new fund called Project Level Up.
I started to study women's sports like an 11-year-old studies baseball statistics. And I got dangerous in seeing up arrows on what was happening in attendance, in sponsorships, in media rights.
That's Hampton talking about when she first started seeing big opportunities in women's sports. And seeing women athletes draw more global interest was another turning point recently.
Think about the Olympics and the big names, lots of amazing athletes, but some of the women were the biggest names. And I just said, we're going to drill down on this, and ultimately saw a real opportunity. And I said, go big or go home.
Going big led to Project Level Up, and its next big plan is a new women's soccer team for Denver. I'm Bloomberg's Justin Milliner on the Black Business Beat.
Want consistent color for every job? Milo's Pro Rewards members get a 20% paint discount on future purchases after paint annual qualifying spend reaches $3,000. Plus, order eligible in-stock paint and paint supplies by 2 p.m. for free same-day delivery by 8 p.m. Improving is easy at Lowe's. Excludes spray paint and mist tints. More exclusions, terms, and conditions apply. Subject to change. Details at Lowe's.com/terms. Same-day delivery valid in select zip codes. Subject to driver availability. Details at Lowe's.com/same-day delivery.
Working as a dedicated Fidelity advisor, I always ask, what's important to you? I'll look at those priorities and goals alongside your full financial picture to build a comprehensive plan designed to help grow and protect your wealth. With proactive portfolio insights and an eye on taxes, I'm here to help you make the most of your money. I'm Laura Maxwell, and I'm a dedicated Fidelity advisor. Learn more at fidelity.com/wealth. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE, SIPC.
He steps to the mic with a boom, ping, ping. Wisdom sharper than a beast's fierce sting. Words like fireflies that light the night. He turns the dark into blazing bright. Boom, ping, ping, the truth takes wing. Milwaukee's voice, let the city sing. Boom, ping, ping, hear the freedom ring. Sherwin's the king, oh, the airwaves king. Shake the ground, unveils the truth where lies abound. Politics, justice, social streams. He molds the chaos into dreams. No silence here, just the sound of change. Boom, ping, ping, rearrange. Boom, ping, ping, the truth takes wing. Milwaukee's voice, let the city sing. Boom, ping, ping, hear the freedom ring. Sherwin's the king, or the airwaves king. Through the static, through the noise, he amplifies the people's voice. Boom, ping, ping, like a heartbeat's call. He's got the wisdom to break down walls. Yeah. Da, 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 da.
to the program. Today is Thursday, February 26th, 2026. I can't figure y'all out. I don't know what you want. I don't know what you're looking for. You're clearly not ready to commit. Is it because you have so many choices? You don't know which direction to go. Or you have been hurt and burned and disappointed so many times. You're just fatigued. Are you just tired of it all? It is a bit of a hassle and a headache, and it's just so time-consuming and it's draining. But we're going to have to make a commitment, and we're going to have to make it very, very soon. I know that you don't want to be put into a corner. I know you like having your freedom, don't you? Not having to make this very, very tough decision. But we got to make it. But it just seems that you all are uninterested. But let me also say this. I'm uninterested, too. I'm just as fatigued as you are. I'm tired of it all, just been disappointed. You put your hope and your faith in this person, and they disappoint you, or they lie to you. Why do they lie so much? Lying is the new truth. I really think it is. The political times in which we are going through are, let's just say, extraordinary. Wisconsin is oftentimes the very center of the political universe. We have been for the last several years. Both political parties have had their conventions here, and even when Kamala Harris had her convention in Chicago, she accepted the nomination in Milwaukee because we are, in fact, the center of the political universe. And if Wisconsin is the center of the political universe because in presidential elections, our 10 electoral college votes could potentially decide who's going to be the leader of the free world, who's going to have the ability to, release the rest of the Epstein files and hold people accountable and sign legislation into law. We can decide that here in the city of Milwaukee because we're very important, But we're not committed. We have a gubernatorial race that is coming up, and 65% of you are undecided. And I think a larger number than that doesn't even care. I have the poll numbers, and they are so disappointing. In fact, they're so low. I think we have 6 candidates. Hell, I don't even know. And I do political talk radio for a living, and I don't even know. I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it. I'm fatigued. I also have a survey here from the Pew Research Center. The Republicans think that they're winning, and I agree with them. But they're not winning on legislation. They're not winning on making things better. They're not winning on making things affordable. They're winning because nobody is challenging them, and there's no mechanism to challenge them. That is the new definition of winning. When we first went on air here, 101.7 The Truth, I had my first day all mapped out. I had my first day of broadcasting, January 4th, 2021, brand new radio station, 101.7 The Truth. I had my whole day planned out, days, if not a full week before we went live. And I was going to do a lot of interviews. I was going to interview the county executive, other local elected officials, some state elected officials. I wanted to bring them on air, obviously welcome them to this brand new platform and let them know that they had a place in which they could engage a very intelligent, very politically astute listening audience. And I wanted them to feel comfortable with this new radio station that was launching in Milwaukee. And I was told something by, at the time, one of the vice presidents of the company who kind of oversaw the birth of The Truth. And he told me to cancel all my interviews. I was astonished. I was like, what? How dare you? That's what my whole day was going to be. Getting elected officials comfortable with this new broadcast platform, because I've always found it productive to have those conversations with elected officials so that they can tell us the policies that they're working on. First, they communicate to us the issues that we tell them about. There's always a plague. There's always something that is nagging, something that is bothering, something that is under-resourced, something that is underfunded. The Republicans took this away, and the Democrats are going to put it back. And so I like to engage in those conversations, because one thing that I don't like is when the community, when our voters say, oh, our elected officials aren't doing anything. That really bothers me. They do a lot. They just don't do it in the sunlight sometimes. But that kind of transparency, I think, is necessary so that we can have trust and faith in the system. But then when I was told that I couldn't do these interviews, I was really shocked. And actually, I was upset. So I did the show. I didn't interview anybody. Now, eventually, I brought elected officials on. But that first day, I was told not to do it. Now I understand why. The ambition of people that are running for office, and I think it is filtered down to us. Because, you know, in the conversation that we have, and you guys bring up some of everything in the YouTube chat or the text line chat at 833-212-1017, it's nary a whimper about the candidates running for governor. I think that people are just so tired of it all. There's an article that I was reading about State Representative Sylvia Ortiz, who allegedly threatened one of it's so ridiculous. Threatened one of her colleagues with an automatic weapon, which, if you've ever met State Representative Sylvia Ortiz, that's not even the weirdest thing she would do in a day. So her threatening a colleague with a gun is not unheard of for her. Now, I don't know if she did it or not. But then the colleague obviously got very upset with her. And then she threatened to leak information to the media about her colleague. Something similar is happening on the Milwaukee Common Council. This ambition is not to create good public policy and to move everything forward and to help improve lives. It's just attacking your colleagues and just moving your personal ambition forward. And that's what I'm starting to see. And it's just unappetizing to even think about interviewing one of these candidates for governor. Now, I'm going to have to do it at some point, but it isn't, to me, it's not even about moving policy forward as much as it is wanting to have communications with the voters and just listening to what they have to say. But I don't think that's where we are anymore. I think that every person that's running for office right now wants to do it because they want to achieve some other goal. They want to be presidents. They want to be mayor. They want to be governor. They want to be a lobbyist. They want to make a bunch of money in the private sector. It did not used to be like that. Also, the world used to be much more mechanical and tactile and analog. Everything is digital now. Everything is virtual now. The face-to-face interactions that retail politicians used to love, I think all that is fading away. People would rather just do a town hall meeting on Zoom or do a conference call where you're on the phone, you don't even see your elected official, and it's very, very exhausting because the times that we are living through right now, especially when the Republicans, when surveyed, think that they are winning, they're winning because they're just not being challenged because I think people are just tired. I'm going to give you the details of the latest Marquette University Law School poll. The numbers are incredibly low. Basically, Mandela Barnes is at 11%. Francesca Hong is at 10%. That election is this year, by the way. It is in November. In fact, there's an August primary, and people aren't even paying attention to it. Now, hopefully, as time goes on, the Democrats that are running for office are going to differentiate themselves from one another, because right now they're not. I'm also a little disappointed that they are not making Milwaukee more of a focal point, because whoever wins that primary in August that goes on to face, I'm assuming, Tom Tiffany, the Republican and Trump-endorsed candidate, they're going to have to perform really, really well in the city of Milwaukee. But I don't know if they're going to. I think that people are just so fatigued and so tired. I think voter turnout is actually going to be very low. And there's the threat that Trump might confiscate voting machines and may federalize our elections. Isn't it just exhausting? That, and it doesn't seem like there is a clear favorite amongst the candidates. Now, I have my interactions and my relationships, some professional, some personal, with the candidates running for governor, and I'm just not all that impressed because it doesn't seem like they're taking it seriously. The fate of the world is actually on the line. And Wisconsin, I think, has done a fairly decent job of not succumbing to some of the worst Donald Trump impulses. And I say that because we have a Democratic governor in Tony Evers who has opted not to run again. And hell, I do not blame him. We have a Republican-controlled state legislature that is as Trump-following as I suppose they possibly can be. But Tony Evers has kind of subdued some of their worst impulses, and we're glad that he did that. But he wasn't a flashy fella. You know, he didn't have the best oratory. You never got excited about his speeches, but he was just like a blue-collar fella that got the job done and protected this state as best he possibly could. As far as his background of being a teacher and a superintendent, education in this state is still a miserable failure. I'm just waiting for one of these gubernatorial candidates to say that they don't want to cancel the school choice program, because they're all saying that as well. I'm going to take a break, come back, give you the details of the latest Marquette University Law School poll, where really nobody cares about any of the 6 candidates running for governor. But I really hope that in time we do care, because if we let this apathy win, so will Tom Tiffany, and he is about as Trump-loving as you possibly can get. And I just don't think that we need that here in Wisconsin. You know what I mean, Jelly Beans? You're listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. I'll be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 101.7thetruth.com.
It's a big week for Milwaukee College Prep. Milwaukee College Prep is a high-performing, nonprofit charter school network serving more than 2,000 black and brown scholars from K-3 through 8th grade right here in Milwaukee. Join MCP as we celebrate Black History Month. Hear directly from their alumni and scholars as they share what Black History Month means to them, the pride, the legacy, and the responsibility to lead. Because Black History isn't just a month, it's the foundation of our future. Milwaukee College Prep. Building scholars, shaping leaders, inspiring tomorrow. Breaking down the issues that shape our city and our future.
The worst kind of whites, not that I'm picking on white folks, but you know how it goes, is the ones that think that they will lose something if this country becomes more fair and equal. I'm going to say that again. The worst kind of white people are the ones that think that if a black person gets a job and gets an opportunity, and they ignore how hard the black person had to work, and the racism, the bigotry, and the discrimination, and just how people turn their noses up at smart black people. They hate us. And the black person works really hard and overcomes maybe generational curses of poor health and poverty and all of those things. And we got to deal with the police and the criminal justice system that doesn't often have our backs. And then the black person gets a job, gets an opportunity, and a white person sees that and thinks that they lost. Those are the worst kind.
It's The Truth with Sherwin Hughes, weekdays from 9 to noon. Catch it live on YouTube or tune in to 101.7 The Truth.
Milwaukee business owners, this is your moment. Every Friday at 8 a.m., call in to 101.7 The Truth for What the Business Is. Tell us what your business is, where you're located, and one thing you've learned along the way. What the Business is powered by We Energies, delivering the energy that powers local business. Fridays at 8 a.m. on 101.7 The Truth. Fridays at 8 a.m. on 101.7 The Truth.
It's The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 The Truth app, and 101.7thetruth.com.
So currently I'm standing in this room.
A new poll released Wednesday by Marquette University Law School shows former Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes has more name recognition than any other candidate for governor, but he isn't Democratic voters' clear first choice. Marquette surveyed 818 registered voters in Wisconsin from February 11th through the 19th. It found 58% had only heard a little about the candidates running for governor, while 35% had heard nothing at all. Why am I so troubled by this? That we are living in a political twilight zone right now, where Trump is telling you that we're winning, but grocery stores are closing and companies are laying off people and energy prices are going up and inflation is still a thing. And I think we're at war with like 5,700,000, 11 different countries. And then there's that paperwork. I can't say it because YouTube is gonna throttle my video. The stuff in the filing cabinet. There you go. The fella that had the island. Him. There's all of that going on. ICE is killing people. Like all that stuff is happening, We have a gubernatorial race this year, a big midterm election, actually. This is the first time that voters will be returning to the ballot box where they can give their thoughts and opinions on what is happening nationally. And 35%, this is not Milwaukee, this is statewide, have heard nothing. It's 6 candidates running. Now, I'm not entirely sure what the strategy is. So two of the candidates are from Milwaukee, which they're going to need. You're going to need robust turnout from the city of Milwaukee if you hope to advance to the general election, where Tom Tiffany is the only Republican. So right now, when the Republicans say that they're winning, and I got a Pew Research Center survey that I'll probably get to in a little while, the Republicans are winning because they're not really being sufficiently challenged. Now, I know that people are sick and tired of the battle axe rhetoric. People are very mean, and Trump says a bunch of mean stuff, and they even showed Barack and Michelle Obama as apes. People are really tired of that, but unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, that's the game right now. And I know the Democrats don't want to make anybody mad, and they want to be politically correct. And, they need to be softer. They're going to get pummeled into the ground because I think America has been hardened by this rhetoric. The only person that I'm seeing that is even attempting to play Trump's game, and on some days he beats him at his game. You got to be petty sometimes. Don't you get tired of always turning the other cheek, being the bigger person? Don't you ever want to be small, want to be the small person sometimes? No, you don't want to feel like that sometimes? I know I do. Because if you keep turning the other cheek, I don't know if anybody's going to respect you. But Gavin Newsom, he's been hitting Trump back on social media because he knows that Trump is going to read it. And I know this it's very unfortunate that we have to outmatch wits with a political party that will stop at nothing. And they're protecting really, really bad people. That's the other thing that I think the Democrats are not able to capture that moment. There are people that are being protected. There are names that are being redacted in, the paperwork. And those names shouldn't be redacted because these are co-accomplices, these are co-conspirators, and they're still being protected. And they have an entire political party that is shielding the identity of literal monsters, and the Democrats cannot take advantage of that. I'm really, really disappointed. I think the apathy has taken hold because eventually if you just keep piling on and more scandals and more corruption and more poisonous rhetoric, I think people just get sick and tired and fed up completely. But this is where we need people to be more attentive, be more active, be more engaged. I can recall a time, I've been doing politics for too long, actually, where even if the stakes weren't as high as they are, and they're very high right now, in the midterm elections, when you had a gubernatorial race, you would have agencies and organizations registering voters left and right. They'd be running ads all over the place. Hey, everybody, there's an election in August. There's another in November. Register to vote. None of that is happening. There used to be millions and millions of dollars poured into that stuff because those organizations, which were decidedly nonprofit, would start even before the campaigns would, making sure that people are registered to vote, because once you register people to vote, they are more likely to pay attention to what's going on. The poll released yesterday by Marquette University Law School shows Mandela Barnes has more name recognition than any other candidate for governor, but he isn't the voters' first clear choice. 818 registered Wisconsin voters were surveyed from February 11th through the 19th. Found 58% had only heard a little about the candidates running for governor. One is literally the county executive of Milwaukee County. He's one of them. The other one is a black guy who used to be lieutenant governor, then ran for the Senate, got endorsed by Kamala Harris. You remember that? His name is Mandela. 35% have heard nothing at all about the Democratic candidates running for governor. Among Democratic primary voters, 65% reported they hadn't made a choice. In the most pivotal political year that I think this nation has ever seen. There's echoes of 1968 going on right now, with how incredibly divided and fractured the country is. DEI is gone. Jim Crow is back. People are getting rounded up. American citizens are having their houses broken into. ICE and CBP are doing sweeps of innocent people's homes, looking for people that sometimes don't even exist. The number of times an American citizen has had their home broken into for someone who is not even in the country it's astonishing. But among those who have, results show former state representative and lieutenant governor Mandela Barnes and Representative Francesca Hong from Madison are essentially tied when the survey's margin of error is taken into account. Francesca Hong is a Democratic socialist. I know the further Trump goes, the more appeal someone like Francesca Hong has. She is obviously pro-public school, anti-school choice, abolish ICE, health care for all. She's one of those. She's a Bernie Sanders type. And when Donald Trump and the Republicans are so incredibly extreme on the right, a much more liberal candidate begins to make a lot more sense. But I want you to recall something. There's a guy named Bernie Sanders, ran for president a couple of times, and he was actually talking great things. There's also another guy named Andrew Yang who was also talking really, really great things. Andrew Yang wanted to give people like just a check every month because he said, and he warned, Andrew Yang did, that AI was going to displace a lot of people and a lot of jobs. And he was saying this years ago. So he was running on giving people free money. Bernie Sanders, health care for all, expanding people's access to social safety nets. And it sounded really, really good when Donald Trump is the Republican nominee. But sometimes the candidates they're so liberal that when it's time to win a general election, they always fail. And I fear that we are falling into that. And the reason why I'm worried about this apathy and the large number of people that haven't heard of the candidates or that are undecided, there may not be enough time to convince enough Wisconsin voters, Democrats, to come out in such a robust number that they can beat a Republican. This is still a competitive state. And it's easy to forget that the last several statewide elections, whether it be for U.S. Senate, whether it be for president, whether it be for governor, were decided by essentially the population of maybe 2 or 3 zip codes in Milwaukee, between 27 and 30,000 votes. If 27 or 30,000 people decide, yeah, I'm tired of this, I don't want to vote, nothing is going to change, I'm just going to worry about my life, my family, and my responsibilities, Tom Tiffany will win and Donald Trump will own the state of Wisconsin. I am trying to prevent that, but it seems that people are just so tired and fed up. But among those who have heard of the candidates, results show Mandela Barnes and Francesca Hong from Madison are essentially tied, but within the survey's margin of error. And their name recognition is 10 and 11%. This article from Urban Milwaukee says that's notable because the Marquette poll found Barnes was the only candidate in the race with name recognition that was reasonably high, which was well ahead of the other Democratic opponents, even ahead of the GOP candidate Tom Tiffany. Because people know who Mandela Barnes is, and we all know who he is, I interviewed the guy. Now, he and I have had a long and interesting relationship. I've talked to him for many, many years, known him for many, many years. I remember when he was running to be a state representative. He won that race. I remember when he ran for the Wisconsin State Senate against Lena Taylor. He lost that race. I remember when he ran for lieutenant governor with Tony Evers in 2018. He won that race. Then I remember when he quit. He resigned, did not run for re-election to lieutenant governor to run against Ron Johnson, which we thought that was kind of a dicey move because Mandela would have been next in line to be governor. All he had to do was nothing. And he was like, nah, I think I'm going to quit being lieutenant governor. I'm going to dissolve my opportunity to be the first black governor in the state of Wisconsin. He ran against Ron Johnson. I didn't support the move at first because I thought it was disrespectful and disloyal to Tony Evers because in politics nowadays, really all you got is party loyalty. So we're like, okay, cool, dude, you're going to run against Ron Johnson. Ron Johnson at the time was the absolute weakest Republican in the whole U.S. Senate, maybe even the weakest Republican in the country. And Mandela lost to him. Now Mandela's like, psych, I want to be governor again. Don't forget about all that other stuff that I did. And so I understand why his name recognition is very high, but that does not mean that people are going to vote for him. Because he put us in a very, very uncomfortable situation. And I say that because Ron Johnson, upon his most recent reelection in 2022, and we got Ron Johnson until 2028. We got Ron Johnson for as long as we still have Trump. That's 3 long years. Ron Johnson has gotten even worse. Even worse. Charles Franklin said that 11% of Democratic primary voters picked Francesca Hong and 10% picked Mandela Barnes. He said the gap between them is meaningless, giving the survey a 6.3 margin of error for primary voters. Quote, but it does show that the name ID advantage that Barnes enjoys has not translated into any comparable big advantage in the vote choice. So I think I need to be a little bit more intentional and maybe talking to and interviewing these candidates, even though I'm fatigued. Tired because they're not making any major impacts. They're not making any waves. They're not splashing. They're not waking the electorate up. And they know that they have to differentiate themselves from one another because there's 6 candidates. It might even be 7. Somebody might have joined the race while we were sleeping. And so then we have a YouTube poll because I'm curious because I know that you guys pay attention or you guys are active and engaged, and I hope most of you are voters. And so I'm wondering does the race of the political candidate matter? It used to be a real big deal. For, I don't know, the first 232-ish years of this country, we didn't want a black president because many have tried. Shirley Chisholm tried. Jesse Jackson tried a couple of times. Al Sharpton even tried to run for president at least once, maybe twice. And then we got Barack Obama. And race was a really big deal. I even still refer to Barack Obama because I look at his accomplishments through the lens of, and he's a black guy too. The race of people that we have tried to keep out of politics, the only real race of people that we denied the right to vote, tried to make it more difficult for them to vote. Black folks essentially had to march and die and suffer for 100 years to be able to vote and have our vote protected. So electing somebody black to the presidency is a big deal. But is it still a big deal? I'm curious because we have 2 African-American candidates that are running for governor. We have an Asian woman, and then everybody else is a different flavor of white. But I'm wondering if race plays a role. Do we believe that the race of the candidate can better serve constituencies of the same or different races? So that's our YouTube poll. So if you haven't done so already, go to youtube.com or open up your YouTube app from your smartphone or other mobile device. Search 1017 The Truth and hit subscribe. You'll also be able to stream our program, but more importantly, vote in our YouTube poll because I'm trying to see the weight of race. And I know this for an absolute fact. There are some people that will never vote for an African-American candidate for reasons that you probably would expect. But I'm wondering if that number is declining. Does race not matter? Is it policy? Is it promoting goodwill? Is it being a decent person? Is it following the letter of the law? Is it following the Constitution? Are those things now more important than the color of a candidate's skin? Tomorrow, I suppose, we'll ask about gender. Do you want a lady governor? Are you guys ready to elect a lady president? At this point, I think maybe we should consider it. So maybe we'll ask that question tomorrow. Does the gender of a candidate for really any political office, does that bear any weight on your decision? You're listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 FM. I'll be back shortly.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Natural gas is a clean, reliable, and convenient source of energy delivered directly to you through underground pipelines. The pipeline system has an excellent safety record, but there are clues that can help you identify a potential hazard. If you smell the strong odor of rotten eggs, hear an unusual hissing sound, or see blowing dirt or debris, it could be a natural gas leak. Leave the area immediately and call We Energies at 800-261-5325.
We Energies. People you can trust. Energy you can depend on. Metastatic breast cancer, or stage 4 breast cancer, happens when cancer spreads beyond the breast to other parts of the body. About 168,000 women are living with it today, with Black women at a higher risk due to various factors. Research has led to treatments that help manage the disease and improve quality of life. The Everyday Counts study explores how nutrition and exercise coaching can support women with metastatic breast cancer. To learn more about the Everyday Counts study in Milwaukee, call 414-955-8819 or email edc@mcw.edu. If you or someone you know has stage 4 breast cancer, please encourage them to call and enroll in this valuable study. Again, call 414-955-8819 or email edc@mcw.edu.
Want to protect our planet? The air we breathe, water we drink, and land we share? Real progress begins with birds. Yes, birds. The very ones we see and hear every day. On a walk, in the park, or simply out the window. That's because birds are more than birds. They're symbols, sentinels that reveal the health of our planet and our people. And by helping them thrive, all of us thrive as well. Audubon is a place where birds matter, where habitats are protected, where communities are engaged, and where change takes flight. Because at Audubon, hope begins with birds. Progress begins with birds. It all begins with birds. Audubon.
This is The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
I don't want to write this down. I want to tell you how I feel right now.
There's a state Supreme Court race taking place as well. That one is in April. Nobody's really paying a lot of attention to that either. However, I think the choice is clear between the two candidates. Obviously, one is a liberal and one is a conservative because the partisanship that exists in this nation has bled its way into everything. Everything is looked through the lens of, are you more liberal? Are you more conservative? Chris Taylor is the liberal candidate for the state Supreme Court. I've interviewed her at least once, maybe twice. I think I did a phone interview. Had her in person, I don't know, maybe in November. Very nice lady, very decent judicial temperament. And I think that having the courts in the opposite political direction of Donald Trump and the Republicans is another safeguard that we have here in the state of Wisconsin. I'm just trying to do my level best to make sure the state of Wisconsin does not fall into Trumpism because I just don't think we need it. And I say that because there's some pretty significant divides that exist amongst the races, especially in this segregated city. I got a whole host of information on education where the overwhelming majority of the lowest performing schools in the state of Wisconsin, are concentrated on the north side of the city of Milwaukee. And I just do not believe, nor do I have any significant faith, that if Tom Tiffany gets elected governor and Donald Trump has even more leverage and leeway in the state of Wisconsin, that we're going to be able to do anything about that. It's also exceptionally disappointing and contributing to my fatigue that the candidates that are running for governor all have essentially the exact same viewpoint on education. Public education is failing black children. I want black children to grow up to be successful and productive black adults that stay out of both prison and the hospital and be a significant part of the 21st century workforce here in Milwaukee and across the state. But if these kids are failing and they cannot read and we've got a whole bunch of behavior and discipline problems and they're getting suspended and expelled, that's an emergency for me. That's a crisis for me. Because when I'm old, I want to live in a safe community where all the kids that I see and all the adults I see are productive because they got a good education, they got a good job, and they're not out here trying to shoot me in the face. So some of my reasons for wanting to have educational options for children are my own selfish reasons of wanting to be safe. Like, there's a direct connection between the education that somebody has, the opportunities that they get, the jobs they have, the money they make, the houses that they buy, and public safety. Is a public safety issue, and we spend too much money on policing and arresting and incarcerating, and it does no good. But every single one of these candidates, it's so disappointing, want to remove a parental choice program that gives parents more options. If the majority of the failing schools in the state are concentrated in the black part of Milwaukee, that's an issue. And these candidates are essentially all in lockstep that they want to remove an option for those parents to put their children in a better school. And I say a better school because MPS teachers and principals and administrators, they don't even send their kids to private or to public school. Right? They send their kids to private school because teachers and administrators and principals know where the best education is. But then there's this other thing that goes back to the Jim Crow South. Private schools were designated white only. When Brown versus Board of Education said that separate but equal is unconstitutional, Mississippi led the charge in this, and they opened up all of these private schools where black students could not be admitted, maybe because the tuition existed, or whatever factors they used to keep black children out of schools, even though we found out school segregation is illegal, unethical, and unconstitutional. I want you to know that liberals are doing the exact same thing. Do you find it funny how you'll have all of these pro-public school people? Now, remember, this is the system that is failing black children to the point of prison, okay? They want you to support your public school. They want more money from you. They want to raise your taxes. They want another referendum. They want $250 million here. They want $80 million there. They'll work in the public schools but won't send their kids there and will tell you that you should not have any other options. Here's the interesting thing about liberals when it comes to black people. They actually want to separate from us, at the same time guide our political agendas. And it is most evident in how they view education. See, working in the public schools is what they do. Sending their children there to get educated is what we're supposed to do. So that just furthers their mission of, wow, these blacks are so stupid. Let's have them pay for our jobs and our salaries. You know, you can work for MPS, get your whole master's degree paid for, get your whole PhD paid for, and not even have to live in the city of Milwaukee, not even have to live in the city in which you are working, getting a master's degree, getting a PhD, and getting a pension and getting your health insurance benefits, and you don't even have to send your kids to the same district in which you work. And then when you want more money and you want more raises, or here's the worst part about it, when they ask for a referendum, and we usually get it because most people are like, oh, we want to make sure all the kids have all the money and the resources that they need. There's a handful of really high-performing public schools that the teachers and administrators will send their kids to those schools, the highest-performing ones. Anything else, that's for y'all. Black folks get the chitlins of MPS. The highest-performing schools that have the most options and college readiness courses and highest graduation rates and the lowest student-to-teacher ratio, they get the lion's share of the referendum money, even though they don't need it. It's the lowest performing schools that need the money, and they don't get it because they even segregate how we fund our schools. Ain't that crazy? A new Marquette University Law School poll, the results of which were released yesterday, found most voters are undecided in the upcoming state Supreme Court race. The poll found that 2/3 of registered voters are undecided ahead of the April election. That's even more dangerous because April is, for all intents and purposes, April is next month. Our elections are the first Tuesday after the first Monday in those designated months of either April or November. Among those who are decided, Chris Taylor leads Maria Lazar, oh, look at these huge numbers, 17% to 12%. More than 80% of both Democrats and Republicans surveyed said they want Wisconsin Supreme Court candidates to talk about the issues the poll found. I don't know much about Maria Lazar other than the fact that she's nuts. She wants to ban books and She's a Trump person. Both Taylor and Lazar are now Wisconsin Court of Appeals judges, but before becoming judges, they were both linked with different political parties. Taylor previously served in the Wisconsin State Assembly as a Democrat, and before that was an attorney for Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin. Lazar previously served as an assistant attorney general under Republican leaders. The poll also found that 6% of registered voters in Wisconsin said they've heard a lot about the race. So 94% of the voters in a pivotal battleground state during a midterm election cycle where Donald Trump is president and gave an hour and 47-minute long State of the Union speech that was 92.5876% lies, have not heard of the candidates running for the state Supreme Court. I thought you guys were on the internet all the time. I thought people are on the internet looking at things and scrolling at things. What are you guys looking at and scrolling if you're not knowing who the candidates are? Quote, I think the distraction of national politics may be a part of it. It used to be that all politics is local. Now all politics is national, so maybe people just aren't paying much attention. That's what Charles Franklin said. He leads the poll. Oh, here we go. He says it in the article here. Burnout is a possibility. We titled the show today, The Fatigue is Real. Are we just tired of it all? But when you're tired, ladies and gentlemen, that means you just gotta keep on going. I'm going to keep on going, too, but after this brief break, The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back.
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes returns after this on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com. The award-winning 1017 The Truth proudly celebrates Black excellence and the most monumental moments in our history. All month long, we're honoring the voices, the stories, and the achievements that have shaped our past, empowered our present, and continue to inspire our future. Tune in for Dr. Ken's Trivia, spotlighting powerful facts and moments you need to know, and Tori Lowe's Our Voices, Our Stories, amplifying the youth, perspectives, and lived experiences that define who we are. Tune in all month long as 1017 The Truth lifts up the legacy, the brilliance, and the power of Black history. Because Black history isn't just history, it's happening every day. 1017 The Truth's celebration of Black History Month is proudly sponsored by Educators Credit Union and Tayback Law. Celebrating Black excellence, celebrating our history. All month long on 1017 The Truth.
The WIAA playoffs begin this weekend. On the girls' side, the City Conference is well represented. In Division I, the 3-seeded Pulaski defends home court against Racine Case. The 4-seeded Rufus King Generals host Menominee Falls. The 12th-seeded Hamilton hits the road to visit Oak Creek. And the 9th-seeded Reagan travels to Lake Geneva to take on Badger. In Division II, the 2nd-seeded Bayview Redcats are ready for Cudahy. And the 5th-seeded Golden Meyer Owls have a tough test on the road against Brookfield Central. And lastly, in Division III girls, the 5th-seeded Milwaukee North head to Racine to take on St. Catharines. Now some quick highlights from the boys' side. Milwaukee Juno earned the number 1 seed in Division IV, while Golden Meyer earned the number 2 seed in Division II. The boys' tournament tips off on Tuesday, March 3rd. And make sure you tune in for our City Conference Game of the Week this Saturday, as we will be broadcasting the boys' Gold Division Championship with tip-off set for 3:30 right here on 1017 The Truth.
This has been your Milwaukee Public Schools City Conference Basketball Weekly Update.
My overall experience with Gruber Law Offices has been phenomenal.
The treatment was excellent.
They will be supportive of you. They will listen to you.
It was a great experience knowing that I had people to help me.
I know I could count on them to do what I needed to get done.
Experience with Gruber was great.
They gave me my life back.
It was amazing.
He gets results.
We know how to win. If you've been injured, call Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all.
Gruber Law Offices had my best interests at heart.
Life's better with Drive My Way from American Family Insurance, because we know it's more than just a car. It's your escape pod, your adventure mobile, your memory maker. And we help protect the dreams that drive you. Personalize what you pay for auto insurance and you can save between 10 and 35%. American Family Insurance. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
Products, pricing, and availability vary based on the way you purchase insurance and by state. Unsafe driving behaviors may increase your rate. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating companies, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
America is kept safe because the Army National Guard responds, protects, and supports our nation when it needs them most. The Army National Guard responds to disasters such as wildfires and floods. They protect us with missile defense, cybersecurity, and civilian support teams for chemical, biological, and radiological hazards. Be there for your community and your country. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about part-time service. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
More of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes is next on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Here we are. Here we are.
Linda asked via the YouTube chat, why don't we do a poll here? Truth Nation. We do, Linda. Every morning we poll you. We ask you different questions about stuff. We even have a poll for today. Does the race of a candidate matter? I'm trying to see if that bears the same kind of weight that it used to. It also used to be history making. I think once you make history, like you get a black candidate for the first time or a woman candidate that wins an election, then nobody cares after that. But I'm trying to figure out where some of the apathy is coming from. Is it the voters are not interested in making history by having a black governor here in the state of Wisconsin? Or not having a woman governor here in the state of Wisconsin? Is it about the issues? Is it not about the issues? Are Democrats just that disappointing? I do think that the PR strategy for the Democrats writ large has been poor. But the institutions that communicate in this country are usually, and people say, oh, the media is so liberal. No, it ain't, because Donald Trump will have your FCC license shanked. Because the Democrats are so all over the place, Republicans are much more detailed and focused on what their agenda is. It's pretty narrow. Democrats are everything. It's black people and women and labor unions and immigrants and disabled people and retirees and people that want to protect Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid and health insurance subsidies and protecting Obamacare. Then you have the environmental people, and then you got the gays. There's so many gays, we have to, well, they're not all gays. Don't get mad at me, relax, calm down. I've got to realize I'm offending people when I'm not doing it right. There's L's and B's and G's and T's and Q's, and then there's I's and A's and pluses. Pluses is everything else that wasn't named in those previous initials, and each of them have their own different agenda items. I do know this much. The Republicans really don't like boys playing in girls' sports. Please keep that one in mind. That's a big one. But because the Democrats' agenda is so vast, and they also usually are pro-public education, the issue that I have with that is Democrats are pro-public education because they are just as afraid of public education unions as Republican legislators are afraid of Trump. I want to make that point abundantly clear. You might even have Democratic candidates for governor that do not like the output of MPS based on the amount of money that they're getting. $20,000 per child they're getting. I remember when MPS was getting, just not all that long ago, $14,000 per child. So now they're getting substantially more. $6,000 per child that's a lot. $6,000 additional per child. And the output is worse. Go figure. And I think that there's some candidates who are practical, and they're saying, wow, Wisconsin taxpayers are paying for a public education system that's failing, obviously, in Milwaukee, but it's failing the rest of the state as well, because that's hampering our workforce. And if we can't supplement our workforce with immigrants because we clearly don't want them in the country anymore, what are we going to do? We're going to have more AI, because if we are not manufacturing a workforce with a solid public education system, first and foremost, other countries that invest better and smarter in their education, they're going to beat us in everything. So whatever production and manufacturing and science and technology jobs, the STEM jobs are going to go to people from other countries. So we're going to lose our competitive edge there. But if America doesn't have a workforce because we're not training one here and we're not importing one from somewhere else because we hate immigrants, then AI is going to have to take over American jobs. And Andrew Yang predicted that. And it's sad to see that prediction coming true. But even the Democrats that are practical on education, because it's really the center of everything. Do you guys know why you have to call a plumber? Because you're not educated in plumbing. You know why you sometimes have to call an electrician or a roofer? Because if some of y'all try to do electrical work, you'd get shocked. You remember in the old cartoons, if you touch an electrical circuit, like you get electrocuted and then you can see your bones. Remember those cartoons? I know what a roof is. I know it has shingles on it, but I'll be damned if I can replace one because I don't have the education to do so. So the less people that we have that are educated, not to mention the teacher shortage, that are educators, we are put at a real significant disadvantage. And I know that some of the candidates that are running see that problem, but they're too afraid to go against the teachers union. So the fear that we've identified that the Republican legislators have with Donald Trump, they're scared of him. They won't even release the paperwork. You know, the millions of pages of paperwork that we've been talking about, and there's a whole bunch of victims and a bunch of children in the paperwork, and they won't release because they're afraid of Trump. Democrats have that same fear. Scared money don't make money. We can't have two scared political parties. What about the American people, who I believe are the most courageous, but I also think that is leading to our apathy? The only institutions that I think candidates should be fearful of and want to do right by is the voters. We have become afterthoughts, it seems. Special interests, obviously those that can fund these campaigns. And I get it, because most of you all don't contribute to campaigns. Most of you don't. In fact, the overwhelming majority of you probably do not. And it is what it is. We can have a conversation about that later. But if we are not contributing to the candidates that have our best interests in mind, or maybe we have to buy their best interests, I guess, then other companies and businesses and corporate interests will. And then when they get elected, who are they going to be loyal to? They're going to be loyal to the people and the organizations that gave them the money so they could win their elections. So we are becoming afterthoughts. And if we surrender to our apathy, which I totally understand because I'm fed up and fatigued too, then the agendas that both Democrats and Republicans have will not be reflected in the people. It'll be reflected in the companies and the businesses and the corporations that are closing your pharmacies, that are closing your grocery stores, that are closing our access to fresh fruits and vegetables. And I think that's why we're seeing what we're seeing. During hour two, I want to share with you some commentary that a college professor shared in New York about black children in public schools, and I think it echoes all the way here to Wisconsin. We'll talk about that next. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back.
Lloyd Barbie wasn't just a civil rights leader in Milwaukee. He was the man who forced the city to change its laws. In the 1960s, when segregation shaped housing, schools, and political power, Barbie didn't stop at protest. He went to court, and he won. His landmark lawsuit against Milwaukee public schools proved that segregation wasn't accidental, but deliberate, making Milwaukee one of the first northern cities legally challenged over school segregation. That victory exposed how inequality thrived, not just through prejudice, but through policy and planning. Later, as an alderman, Barbie helped pass Wisconsin's first fair housing ordinance, opening doors that had been legally closed for generations, and setting a model other cities would later follow. Barbie believed civil rights weren't symbolic. They were enforceable. Lloyd Barbie showed that real justice comes from persistence, strategy, and the courage to make institutions answer.
This Black History Moment is sponsored by Educators Credit Union and Tayback Law.
Day one. Diagnosis day. The hardest day. The day you hear,
I'm sorry, this is a type of blood cancer.
But day one is just one day. At the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, we are here to help you move past day one.
On day 45, I discovered an online community who shared great tips for in-treatment care.
I missed a lot of school during treatment, and LLS helped me keep up.
We are here for you. We exist for everyone fighting leukemia, lymphoma, myeloma, and other types of blood cancer.
On day 185, LLS helped me file my insurance claims properly.
Day 5,840 and counting, and I'm still in remission.
To learn more and get help on day 1, day 2, day 983, or any day, please visit LLS.org or call 1-800-955-4572. That's LLS.org, 1-800-955-4572.
Want to protect our planet? The air we breathe, water we drink, and land we share? Real progress begins with birds. Yes, birds. The very ones we see and hear every day. On a walk, in the park, or simply out the window. That's because birds are more than birds. They're symbols, sentinels that reveal the health of our planet and our people. And by helping them thrive, all of us thrive as well. Audubon is a place where birds matter, where habitats are protected, where communities are engaged, and where change takes flight. Because at Audubon, hope begins with birds. Progress begins with birds. It all begins with birds. Audubon.
Join the movement. Listen to The Tori Lowe Show on 1017 FM, 1510 AM WGKB Waukesha and W269DL Milwaukee, the locally owned Good Karma brand station. It's The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Welcome to hour 2 of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. I'm going to give the phone number out just so you have somebody to pocket dial. 833-212-1017, 833-212-1017. I am starting to notice, and I'm even feeling in myself, just the overall apathy. People are not interested. They don't care. Maybe they're frustrated. Maybe they're fed up. I totally get that because I've had little interest in wanting to interview the candidates running for governor, and I should, because everything is at stake, especially with the overturning of DEI. There's some things that we can do here in the state of Wisconsin to make sure that people who have been left out and left behind still can get opportunities and get fair shakes, even though we have a referendum on our ballot in November, which is going to pass. And I'm not even sure how I can frame the argument to get it to fail. And it basically is changing not just a law, but the Wisconsin Constitution to make sure that race, ethnicity, gender, anything that has been used to hold someone back from an opportunity, and all those things have been used. And now everything is going to be quote-unquote merit-based. And so if you believe that black people or women have been kept out of and held back from certain opportunities in certain industries and maybe government contracting, it is not going to be permanent. That is going to be a ballot referendum in November. And the way that it's written and it's worded, we would have to convince white people, who are 83% of the voters in the state of Wisconsin, that they should be okay with non-white people taking opportunities away from them because of skin color, ethnicity, and gender. And it's not going to happen. It is not going to happen. So the whole affirmative action at the Supreme Court being unconstitutional and not being able to look at gender and race when it comes to college admissions. And, of course, there used to be companies. Remember back when George Floyd was killed and companies were like, oh, we want to hire more black people. All that is gone. All that has been reversed. There's this thing I used to say, and I stopped saying it because it was super unpopular, because black people thought that they earned all of the rights that were afforded to us. We earned them. We worked hard. We marched and protested a lot. A bunch of people were jailed and even killed. So we earned these rights. No, we didn't. They were given. As a part of the system that we live in, it expands a little bit to accommodate people, to try and keep order in the nation. And if black people are going to march and protest and yell and scream and fight and get really, really mad for 100 years, fine, let them vote. Fine, let them buy houses in other neighborhoods. That's fine. But those rights were given. They're not permanent. They can be taken away. And I used to say that, and people used to get so mad at me. I'm like, one day it'll happen. And it's happening right now. We are at a point right now in America where we're looking like 1962 or 1963. If the SAVE Act passes, which it won't, women who are married who had a name change won't be able to vote on purpose. So they're trying to roll back the 19th Amendment. And it's something new every single day, not to mention the wars and everything is so expensive. So the voter apathy is real. But also it's difficult to be excited about interviewing candidates that are all the same on all the issues because they're all being really nice with each other. And hopefully one of the Democratic candidates will say, hey, you know what? Time for me to differentiate myself in these times because everything literally is on the line. So I'm scanning the world as I typically do. And I come across some audio, which I'm not going to play because, no thanks. But it's a New York City college professor. And they were caught making a comment described as, quote, outrageous and anti-black during a virtual meeting with students. So I thought that we learned this during the COVID days when all the meetings were virtual and people were working remotely and the kids were going to school remotely. You gotta check that microphone icon. First thing you should do. Okay, obviously you know if your camera's on or not, right? But you got to check that microphone icon. And it has caught some really important people. They have been caught on hot mics before, and it's ended careers, as you could imagine it would. But what this woman said about black children, that we are too dumb, or black children are too dumb to know that they're in a failing school. And then this white woman referenced something that Carter G. Woodson said, and this is all during Black History Month, which makes it even more ironic, that if you train a black child a certain way and you diminish them, you don't have to tell them to sit in the back. They'll automatically go to the back, which is absolutely the truth. They won't even try to excel. They won't even try to move to the front. If you diminish and depress and demonize them repeatedly over and over and over, maybe you do it covertly, maybe you do it overtly, eventually they will just assume the position in the back. And she referenced that on a hot microphone. And this college in New York has not fired this woman. And here's the thing, I don't think they should. We need to know how these people think about us so we can make better choices. I wish that people would be much more open and honest about how they feel about us, because what happens is we think that everybody has black people's best interests in mind, and they're really nice to us. They open doors for us if we're walking into the store. They say hello, say good morning. They give us that little nod and that tight-lipped smile, and we think like, oh, these are great people. But then when you hear how they talk about us when they think that we're not around or when we can't hear them, we're blown away and our feelings are hurt and we want them fired, we want them canceled. But when we do that, ladies and gentlemen, we are not impacting how they truly feel about us. We're just diminishing one voice. Like if a white person says the N-word today, like that lady from Home and Garden TV, they had a show none of you had ever heard of, none of you had ever watched before, didn't even know who this lady's name was. I talked about either last week or the week before. She got caught on they're recording her show. She had a home improvement show on Home and Garden Television. I don't even know where to find Home and Garden Television. But so she said the N-word. And then Home and Garden Television, they come out with a statement, oh, she does not support the values of Home and Garden Television. First of all, what are the values of Home and Garden Television? But this woman said the N-word, and then Home and Garden Television, they canceled her show and pulled all of the reruns off of whatever streaming platforms they were on. I don't think they should have did that. I think that we need to, because we would be shocked if they were allowed to speak freely about how they feel about us, because a lot of them are in positions of power. And I think that we would have a much different focus as black people, because I think we've lost our way because we believe that, well, everything is fair and everything is equal, and look how much progress we have made. Indeed, we have, but they have made progress, too, on how they can hate in the shadows. A New York City college professor was caught making a comment described as outrageous and anti-black during a virtual meeting with students. And the reason why this is so important is because she was talking about public education in one of the public schools that her child attends. And at the same time, she herself is an educator. And I don't know if we often put two and two together, because we think that if someone agrees to teach, especially teach children, that they have those children's best interests in mind. And some teachers do, but not all of them. If you look at their culture linearly, where it's been a part of their culture to just not like black people, to not see us as equal, to see us as less than. And there's a significant part of that culture that still keeps that alive, because they think that by diminishing us, that they're better than us, they're ahead of us, and they can get opportunities that we should never have. So that's actually a really important part of whiteness, just thinking you're better than black people. But also, if you keep that in mind about their culture, I know this is very painful for us to ever talk about. Have you guys ever seen those photos of a lynching where it's a huge group of people? It's like a party. And you see that black man usually wearing overalls or something like that. You see him hanging. And they may not show the entire body, but you see their feet dangling above the ground. And they take this photo, or they exhibit these photos of lynchings, where you see the black man's legs hanging, but you can see the entire crowd. And I've stared at these photos to look at the faces of the people, these hollow faces that they had, while there's a dead human being that they're celebrating the death of killing somebody. But there's children in the crowd. They brought their children to see a black man hang. Obviously, that is going to impact that child forever, because that child is now internalizing black people's lives are expendable for fun. And do you think that they would go from that to wanting to help, support, and promote black people, and especially black children, get ahead? Absolutely not. Footage from the Zoom meeting shows students and staff covering their mouths in shock before a male voice told the professor her comments were, this is what so she's saying the racist stuff. I'm going to get to the comments she said in a second. They said, you're absolutely hearable and that you have to stop. Not, hold on, you're saying racist things and there's black children on this call. Your microphone is on and you were being blatantly racist. The person was like, hey, we can hear you making the racist comments. Not firing back at what this woman was saying, was like, hey, turn your mic off if you're going to say racist things. On February 10th, associate professor at Hunter College, Allison Friedman, joined a community education meeting discussing a controversial proposal from New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani to close or relocate several public schools. This is something that happens here in the city of Milwaukee. We do close and we relocate students. If a particular school is not at capacity, we'll remove the students from that school and put them at a nearby school where they can be closer to capacity. Because you don't want a school that's 25, 30% occupied, 75, 80% empty. They'll move the students, and they do that here all the time. Right sides in the district, they call it when they move students. So this is what this particular Zoom call was about, that Allison Friedman, who is an associate professor at a college, was joined. Well, she was on this call, rather. New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani talking about a proposal to close or relocate several local schools. Friedman was there as the parent of a child at a public school. All right. Friedman was then allegedly heard, not allegedly, you can hear it, allegedly heard making a comment to her daughter, who was reportedly sitting in the same room as her during the call. Now remember, there's black children on this call, this woman said while she said these words. Friedman said, quote, "They are too dumb to know they're in a bad school. If you train a black person well enough, they'll know to use the back. You don't have to tell them anymore." So not only did other black children hear this white woman college professor say this, when other people on the call heard her say these words to her daughter, basically telling her public school-age daughter that, yeah, if you just train blacks a certain way. And this woman is an educator, so you have to think that she was probably active, engaged, and complicit in impacting the education of her black students. How would she not? She's telling this to her daughter. She's spreading this to another generation of white folks. This is why we're in a losing battle. New York Times reports Friedman was referencing a comment made by the school district's acting superintendent, Reginald Higgins, earlier in the meeting, who referred to Carter G. Woodson. Woodson was an American historian, author, and founder of the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, also the curator of Black History Week, now Black History Month. He famously said, "If you make a man think that he is justly an outcast, you do not have to order him to the back door. He will go without being told." Now, this is what Carter G. Woodson said. Here is what Allison Friedman said. "They're too dumb to know they're in a bad school. If you train a black person well enough, they'll know to use the back. You don't have to tell them anymore." That was no reference to what Carter G. Woods was saying. That was her perspective on black children. I'm going to take a break, come back. Maybe we will find the audio. I don't know if I want to hear it, though. We'll see. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. We'll be right back.
More of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes is next on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
In 1987, the Bucks took on the world and changed basketball forever.
At stake, basketball supremacy in the United States.
Bucks versus the World, narrated by Charlie Behrens, is the new season of Behind the Bucks podcast, presented by Gallagher, your trusted insurance broker and HR and benefits consultant. It's the untold story of the 1987 McDonald's Open, when the Bucks became the first NBA team to face the Soviet Union. Listen now on bucks.com/plus, the Bucks app, the ESPN Wisconsin app, and wherever you get podcasts.
Grab the dial and crank it up, baby, because Potawatomi Casino Hotel Milwaukee is spinning its Winning Hits collection. Over the next 3 months, you could win a share of over $1 million in prizes. On top of thousands in cash and reward play, you could win one of 3 new Ford vehicles in the grand finale drawings on March 27th. Just play with your rewards card to earn entries. Press play on the Winning Hits collection, only at Potawatomi. More info online. Must be 21 and a rewards member to play.
Hi, this is Sherwin Hughes from 101.7 The Truth, and I want to talk to you about something bigger than just buying a house. I'm talking about building a legacy. Owning a home isn't just about 4 walls and a roof. It's about giving your kids a place where memories are made, where birthdays are celebrated, and where they always belong. It's about planting roots, knowing your neighbors, waving from the porch, and being a part of a community that feels like family. If you've been renting and wondering if home ownership is even possible, Axe Housing is here to work with you. An Axe Housing coach will help you create a plan, a budget, and move step by step toward owning a place you can truly call your own. They've already helped over 4,000 families become homeowners, and many are paying less than they were paying for rent. Don't let where you are today stop your family's tomorrow. Start your journey at axehousing.org. That is ACTShousing.org. Your legacy begins at home.
Prizes, exclusive experiences, even cash money. You want it? We've got it. Find a list of all contests and official rules by visiting truthcontests.com. That's truthcontests.com.
Happy kids heal faster, and that's why Starlight is dedicated to improving the mental well-being of sick kids across the U.S. Learn how at starlight.org.
Hurt by a truck? Call Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all.
More of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes is next on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Not Really a City Girl says they should get fired. Consequences should stay consistent. If people let it slide, then they will push the boundaries further. What good will that do? We know how they feel already. And so I agree, you shouldn't say things, especially if you are an educator. But if you look at the performance of black children, either black kids are really, really dumb. If the majority of the low-performing schools in the whole state of Wisconsin are on the north side of the city of Milwaukee. Either. It's one or the other. There's very little gray area here, and we got to figure out which side we're on, especially as voters. Either black kids are just dumb. They're dumb. They can't learn. They're just dumb. They're all lead poison, or they're all special ed and all special needs. It's either that. They can't learn. It's impossible. They can't read. They can't do math. They have no reading comprehension. It's either that, or somebody is impacting their education. Which one is it? Now, Linda says in the comments, and I don't disagree with you, Linda. She says, Professor, that's why black parents should educate themselves more, be more proactive, teaching their children about themselves and the evil world we live in. Young parenting, missing out, so sad, ASF. An uneducated parent can't educate their child. And that's the only way I can put that. If they don't see and know the value of education, then it's impossible for them to educate their children, especially if they're living in survival mode. They're educating their kids on how to live without an education. Not, I want you to know math and science, and when you get home from school, I'm going to give you an additional lessons on science, technology, engineering, and math. I'm going to have my own curriculum for my child. Parents ain't doing that. Parents got to work. Parents got responsibilities. And parents may be illiterate themselves. Because we can suggest that all day long, black parents got to take much more responsibility. The reason why we pay taxes is so that we have a school system that will educate our children better than parents ever could. There are literally people that go to school to be educated. It is what they do. It is their life's work. But now all of a sudden, black parents now have to do that too. We should have some decency in the system to where black parents don't have to take on the additional responsibility, including paying bills and making sure their children are healthy and are eating and making sure their kids are safe. And now we got to educate them too because of all the white racism. It's just yet another burden. And that's the part that's unfair. Because if that's the case, all right, so we're investing $20,000 per child at MPS. Get that parent that same $20,000 and let them either hire a tutor or choose a different school academic environment for their child. Give that money directly to the parents. But they're not going to do that. They're saying, no. You're going to pay taxes, and we have schools, we have buildings, we have a curriculum, we have a program, we have a protocol that your child is going to be able to go to with the $20,000 basically of your money that we're investing in that child. And there are some people that don't even want parents to have even additional options within that $20,000 investment. Let's see what do I got right here? Might have some audio for you of this lady. Let me see what I got.
New at 4 today, a Hunter College associate professor facing some backlash after what happened on a hot mic during a virtual school meeting. The college says the words were, quote, abhorrent remarks. News 4's Erica Byfield live on the Upper East Side with this investigation. Erica, what happened here?
Well, Natalie, we confirmed that Hunter College is investigating, and nearly all the students that we talked to today were well aware of this controversy, telling us they saw the video. The hot mic moment that launched investigations happened during a Zoom call. An 8th grader discussing a possible school closure interrupted.
They're too dumb to know they're in a bad school. I mean, fuck. But apparently our blue king said it. Like, if you train a Black person well enough, they'll know to use the back. You don't have to tell them anymore. They just
Allison Friedman, what you're saying is absolutely hearable here. You've got to stop.
After that, shocked faces and about 10 seconds of silence, a moment that has Hunter College buzzing.
You could tell by their facial expression they were all stunned. And
so there was children on that call, by the way. There were kids, and I'm looking at the video of it, and they couldn't believe it. I think it's also a good lesson for those kids to know that there are some adults and some teachers, maybe even at their public schools, that they were on this call to try and save their public school from closing. But this is a college professor that said that. And imagine if that is what her philosophy is. Imagine if she diminishes the intelligence of her Black students, and more importantly, she was telling her daughter, who was in the room with her, she was talking to her daughter, that Black kids that she goes to school with, clearly, her daughter does, are too dumb to know that they're in a bad school. I don't see that any different than diminishing the life of a Black person at a lynch party, and you bring your kids to it to show Black life is expendable, and the opportunities and the education of Black people are also expendable. No, clearly one is less violent than the other, but they both can lead to violence because uneducated people, the one thing that most people have in common that are in jails and prison, what do you think it is? No high school diploma. We know what those outcomes are. Much more likely to be in poverty. You're going to have shorter life expectancy. You're going to have more chronic health problems. You're probably not going to have a doctor. You're not going to have access to medical care. You probably can't afford it if you do get sick. We know that diminishing somebody's education is a guarantee. It's not 100% now, because there are some people that defy the odds, but far too many people have to defy the odds. Friedman was then allegedly heard making a comment to her daughter, who was reportedly sitting in the same room as her during the call. Friedman allegedly said, it's not allegedly because y'all just heard it, they're too dumb to know they're in a bad school. If you train a Black person well enough, they'll know to use the back. You don't have to tell them anymore. Carter G. Woodson, who she said she was quoting, said, quote, if you make a man think that he is justly an outcast, you do not have to order him to the back door. He will go without being told. And that was his philosophy on how you can diminish a Black person's self-esteem. And then in this society, we will just automatically relegate ourselves to being second-class citizens. It sounds like she is using that philosophy. The article goes on to say no matter what Friedman was trying to reference, the comment was described as racist and deeply hurtful. As per the Center School PTA Executive Board in a letter to the Community Action School. Someone on the call can be heard telling the professor, Allison Friedman, what you are saying is absolutely hearable here. You've got to stop. After this, the meeting descended into stunned silence. After branding the comment made by the professor as abhorrent, spokesperson for Hunter College said in a statement, quote, this is such a watered-down statement. In service to Hunter College, we expect our community members' actions and words to comport with our institutional identity, values, and policies. We are reviewing the situation under the university's applicable conduct and non-discrimination policies. Then they go on to say, we stand firm in our enduring commitment to sustain an inclusive educational environment that is free of discrimination of any kind, in which people of all identities will feel welcome and can thrive. Her comments directly refute their policy. So this happened on February 10th. It is February 26th, and this woman still has not been fired. I'm going to take a break, come back, read some of your comments via the YouTube chat and at 833-212-1017. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. We'll be right back.
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes returns after this on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Life's better with American Family Insurance because we know you love working weekends. If it means working on your dream home, both inside and out. And we're here to help protect those dreams so you can enjoy peace of mind. Save up to 40% when you bundle home and auto. American Family Insurance. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
Products, pricing, and availability vary based on the way you purchase insurance and by state. Some exclusions apply. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating companies, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
Our children deserve a real chance to make it in life, and a good education is a passport to opportunity. At City Ford Collective, we're working to make sure there's a great Milwaukee school for every Milwaukee family, because more good options lead to better outcomes. And who doesn't want that? Together, we can give every child the foundation they need to thrive, and a stronger future for kids means a stronger future for Milwaukee. To learn more about our mission, visit us at cityfordcollective.org. That's cityfordcollective.org.
Thank you, Milwaukee. Because of you, the second annual Truth Community Awards was an unforgettable celebration of the leaders, changemakers, and heroes who make our city shine. A special thank you to our incredible partners, Milwaukee College Prep, the Milwaukee Bucks Foundation, Gruber Law Offices, Steinhoffels, Cousins Subs, and 3rd Street Market Hall. And thank you to our presenting sponsor, Potawatomi Casino Hotel. Together, we're celebrating community, culture, and impact. We'll see you next year at the Truth Community Awards.
Real talent is defined by what people can do, not where they learn to do it. So by stopping at the education section of a resume, you might throw away the perfect hire. You might miss someone who has valuable skills to offer to help your business thrive right now and in the future. Because the truth is this: Skills First Hiring helps you see talent others miss, like more than 70 million stars, skilled through alternative routes. When you let their story unfold, you gain a competitive advantage, because hiring managers who start with skills are 60% more likely to find a successful hire. See the real person, complete. See what others miss. Hire skills first. Learn why it's a competitive advantage at tearthepaperceiling.org. Brought to you by Opportunity at Work and the Ad Council.
It's The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Our line is 833-212-1017, 833-212-1017. I want to read Daphne's comment. Daphne says, "But Professor, why are people stunned and surprised? That's what they think and believe. Why are black folks so shocked?" You know what, Daphne? I don't know if shocked is the term. Well, there's some people that they've never heard white people talk that way because they've been shielded from it. I recently found out that there are black people on planet Earth that have never been called the N-word before. And if you've never been called it, you think that people never say it. And if you think that people never say it, you think that people never think it. And if you think that people never say it and they never think it, you don't know or you're not aware that they will treat you as such because you've never heard it. And you think they don't say it. And you think they don't mean it. Here's why that is important. So we know how a lot of them think about us, but this is why it's impactful. 22 of Wisconsin's 50 lowest performing schools are concentrated on Milwaukee's north side. According to a comprehensive new analysis released today by City Ford Collective, the report, Milwaukee's North Side Education Crisis, A Generation of Failure Demands Action, reveals that only 18% of North Side students among the nearly 55,000 enrolled attend schools meeting City Ford Collective's definition of high quality. 18% of North Side schools. So them saying what they say about us, and maybe they call us the N-word, maybe they say that we're stupid, maybe they say if you train a black person, they'll automatically go to the back. Right, we know that they say that. We know that they think that about us, but it is exhibiting itself in the lack of education of black children. That's why it's important. So we've got to connect the two, ladies and gentlemen, but for some reason our community fails to see that. The racism that we know they're capable of, that we've always known they're capable of, because we talk about it frequently. Look at Trump as an example, and he's making it politically correct, and they're enshrining this kind of discrimination against black people and against black children and black adults and black women and black men, in the Wisconsin Constitution, they have the audacity to put a referendum on the ballot that will make these kinds of things not just legal and legitimate, but constitutional. So look, we get it. We know that they think these things about us and they say these things, but it's impacting the education of black children. And you wonder why there are these continued cycles of poverty, while the criminal justice system just continues to get more and more and more people. And we have to have more police, and there's more crime and more homicide and more aggravated assault and more armed robbery and strong armed robbery. It's because of their attitude about us, because we still have to go to their institutions. We still have to work for them. We still have to apply for loans from them. So yes, we get it. We know how they feel. We know how they talk about us. But now connect our negative social indicators to their attitudes, and now you see what the problem is. We get caught up on hearing them say something racist because we'll always dismiss it as, oh, Sherwin, they talk about us like that all the time. Think about the ones that don't get caught. Think about the impact that they can have on black people's lives and black children's lives every single day. And they can do so silently because if you've never heard them say the N-word, you may think they're a good one. We have to begin to connect these dots. The attitude that they have about us, which we all know, we're familiar with it. I'm not telling you anything new. They don't like us. They're afraid of us. It's the main reason why Trump got reelected. Not necessarily why he got elected the first time. That might have been he's a maverick, he's new, he's not political, he's not a career politician, he's going to shake up the system, he's going to drain the swamp. Okay, that's not what happened, but I can understand why some people who are fed up with a two-party system said, oh, Trump doesn't have a history of being a committed Democrat or Republican. Let's give him a shot. Now he was elected on racism. And the support for him transcended the fact that he committed some of the most egregious election fraud ever. He was responsible for a January 6th coup, and by the way, pardoned everybody, and has 34 felonies. Donald Trump spoke for the people that think that way about us, but have not been caught by a hot mic. And they'll even overlook his connections to the paperwork. Millions and millions of pages in which he has mentioned thousands and thousands of times. I just want people to make this connection. Yes, they feel this way about us, and it's guiding their political behavior to such an extent that they will overlook a monster that has committed crimes, some crimes potentially against children. So those are all of the people that we have not heard on the hot mics. They have a political leader, and he's not going away anytime soon. And if we are concerned about the fate of our children, we have to be aware that we are sending our kids into institutions where we have hope and faith that they're going to educate our kids and give our kids opportunities. But they think this way about our children. Quote, this data should be a wake-up call for every Milwaukee leader from Milwaukee to Madison, said Celestin Morgan, executive director of City Forward Collective. Let me do you one better. There are 6 candidates. It might be 7. Am I miscounting the candidates running for governor? But they all essentially feel the same way about this public education system that we know is rife with this kind of discrimination. Because I don't believe that black children are dumb. And let me tell you why. I shouldn't have graduated from high school. I graduated with a 1.4 grade point average, thoroughly convinced that I was stupid. I had one teacher that held my fate in his hands. I needed to get some astronomically high grade on this particular algebra test, because if I would have passed this algebra class with this test score that I knew I wasn't going to get, like the score I needed on that test was higher than I think any math score or math test score I had ever gotten ever. I was like, all right, well, let me give it a shot. I got nothing to lose but everything. And I remember it was the last exam period of the year, and everybody had left. I stayed behind because I wanted to sit next to my teacher while he graded my paper, because I needed this really, really high grade on this math test in order to graduate. So this would have been a Friday. My graduation was that Sunday. I got family coming in from out of town. This is a big deal for me. So I was like, I got to do well on this test. So everybody had left. I was the last one to finish my test because, I took my time. And he said, all right, Sherwin, come on up here. Let's see what you got. And so he has his, I'll never forget, I'm sitting to his left. And he pulls out the answer key. And then he has my test right next to the answer key. And then he's going through he's looking at the answer key. Then he looks at my test. And then this is back when, I don't know if teachers do this anymore. When you got an answer wrong, they give you a check mark in red. They don't do that no more because that's psychologically damaging. So he's okay, let's see what we got. And he was actually very optimistic because he knew that I had to score, I think I had to get like 100% on this test, which, yeah, okay. If I'm going to get 100% on a math test, it should be like, what's 20 divided by 10? And that's the only question on the test, and I get that right, then I'm going to get 100. And so he starts going down my answer, check mark, check mark, check mark, check mark, check mark. And at that point, my eyes started welling up. I'm like, I'm not going to graduate. I got a 68% on that test. I was like, well, I'm not going to graduate. So now I'm starting to think about what excuse I'm going to give. And he said, Sherwin, I'm not going to do that to you. You know, I've seen you since you were a freshman. You've grown up. You matured. I'm going to give you whatever grades you need so you can get the hell out of here and you can graduate and you can start your life. Had he not done that, had he been like this teacher in New York or any other, I certainly wouldn't be here right now. And so I don't resign to the fact that 50 of the lowest performing schools in the whole state of Wisconsin are on the north side. And only 18% of 55,000 black children attend a school that is even reasonably high performing. Because I was impacted. My grade point average was impacted by how teachers felt about me. They wanted me to enter in the back. They wanted to so diminish me. You realize, ladies and gentlemen, if you graduate from high school, if you're lucky enough to graduate from high school with a 1.4 grade point average, there is no part of you that thinks that you were even remotely intelligent. Now, fast forward 33 years. Hell, I'm the smartest person I know. Thanks, Zach. Not that you aren't smart, Zach, but you know what I mean? I am more than what my grade point average, which was, I think, dictated by things other than my academic performance. I also realized that I was bored in school, that they weren't teaching me what I needed to know.
Would have fooled me.
Thanks, Zach. I think that was a compliment.
It is. You're very smart.
Thanks. Appreciate that. And so I see this very, very differently. And so when I hear an educator's racist comments, a white educator's racist comments are a lot different than just like if you hear like a cashier at Walmart say the N-word. They don't have a lot of impact on black children and their future and their progress. I mean, it's unfortunate and it's stupid, but it's a cashier at Walmart. And chances are that damn Walmart going to be closed and that person going to be unemployed them damn selves. But when it's an educator, they can make black children feel like they are stupid. Think about the suicide rate, which is increasing for black children. Think about the rates of depression. Think about the anxiety. Think about black children never wanting to further their education because there are white people that do not want us to compete with them. So, yes, we can dismiss whatever this woman said, but it's got to be relatable to how poorly our kids are doing right here. It's a moral imperative, says City Forward Collective. 57% of Wisconsin's black students attend Milwaukee public schools. That makes the North Side ground zero for the state's worst in the nation black-white proficiency gap. So do you think the black kids are dumb? Is that what it is? We just think they can't learn. They're dumb, right? Or is somebody who feels like this educator in New York, because we caught her on a hot mic, okay? Either black kids are dumb or there are teachers and administrators that haven't been caught on a hot mic. but are teaching, guiding, and instructing our kids and telling them that they are stupid. And if it's the latter, what are we going to do about that? And so, if any gubernatorial candidate wants to sit down with me on this program and talk to you all, because all of you, most of you are voters, they're going to have to come up with a solution for this. I don't care about nothing else. I don't care what you're going to do about taxes. I don't care how you're going to allocate state lands for hunting and fishing. I don't care about none of that. I don't care about how you're going to platform the L's and the B's and the G's and the T's and the Q's. Good for you. But if you don't have a position on the moral imperative of black children attending the worst schools in the state that are concentrated on the north side, if you don't have a solution for that, I just don't want to talk to you. And it ain't personal. We just ain't got nothing to discuss. You're listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. I'll be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
The award-winning 101.7 The Truth proudly celebrates Black excellence and the most monumental moments in our history. Tune in for Dr. Ken's Trivia, spotlighting powerful facts and moments you need to know. And Tori Lowe's Our Voices, Our Stories, amplifying the youth, perspectives, and lived experiences that define who we are. Celebrating Black excellence, celebrating our history. All month long on 101.7 The Truth.
Hi, this is Sherwin Hughes from 101.7 The Truth, and I want to talk to you about something bigger than just buying a house. I'm talking about building a legacy. Owning a home isn't just about four walls and a roof. It's about giving your kids a place where memories are made, where birthdays are celebrated, and where they always belong. It's about planting roots, knowing your neighbors, waving from the porch, and being a part of a community that feels like family. If you've been renting and wondering if home ownership is even possible, Axe Housing is here to work with you. An Axe Housing coach will help you create a plan, a budget, and move step by step toward owning a place you can truly call your own. They've already helped over 4,000 families become homeowners, and many are paying less than they were paying for rent. Don't let where you are today stop your families tomorrow. Start your journey at axehousing.org. That is ACTShousing.org. Your legacy begins at home.
The road to the championship ends here. The best of the best, the City Championship Gold Division. One game, one title, one team raising the trophy. After a season of battles, buzzer beaters, and unforgettable moments, it all comes down to this. Who's built for the pressure? Who's ready to make history? Listen live on 101.7 The Truth and on the Truth app, your home for City Championship basketball.
Ready to move? Find your next home with Odom Investments and Property Management. Beautiful rentals, great locations, and professional service. All the way Odom Way. Call 855-ODOM-WAY. That's 855-ODOM-WAY. Or 855-636-6929. Your home is waiting.
You want to feel important. You want to be a part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things. You want to feel like you belong. We know. We felt that way too. And that's why we did something about it. We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers. We are normal people just like you. And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
More of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes is next on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
The award-winning 101.7 The Truth proudly celebrates Black excellence and the most monumental moments in our history. Tune in for Dr. Ken's Trivia, spotlighting powerful facts and moments you need to know, and Tori Lowe's Our Voices, Our Stories, amplifying the youth, perspectives, and lived experiences that define who we are. Tune in all month long as 1017 The Truth lifts up the legacy, the brilliance, and the power of Black history. 1017 The Truth's celebration of Black History Month is proudly sponsored by Educators Credit Union and Tayback Law. This Black History Month, ladies and gentlemen, and maybe this is just my sentiment and my fatigue and even my apathy, because if these candidates aren't talking about what the real problems and issues are, then I don't want to talk to them. For what? Hi, welcome to the show. So tell us about your campaign. Oh, that's good. How are the voters responding? Oh, boy, did you hear about what Trump did? I'm not having those conversations no more. I spent my career having those conversations. Those stop. If you're going to sit across from me, I want to know what you're going to do. You're going to begin with that. I don't care how the campaign is going. That's for you and your consultants that are ripping you off to figure out. I want to know what you're going to do. Tell me what the plan is and how you're going to implement it. Tell me how you're going to work with the Republicans in the legislature to enact something to address the outright failure of Black children, because I promise you, if it was white kids, they would turn the world upside down. Do you think that Wisconsin would sit idle if the majority of the children in the New Berlin or Waukesha or Germantown or Cudahy or St. Francis or Oak Creek school districts couldn't read? Do you think that they would just be like, oh, well, on to the next? They would stop everything. And if they're not doing that for us, then that tells me that they need to be caught on a hot mic. Because I don't think that Black folks believe it until we hear it. We always say, oh, we know how they feel about us. No, you don't. Because when you hear it, you freak out. When they say the N-word, y'all have a fit. You want them fired. You want them canceled. And we send them threats. Do you guys know about that? The lady from Home and Garden Television, which I thought her use of the N-word was just stupid. And I don't see her, whoever this woman is, because it's not like she was some political candidate or political activist or was giving to Republicans. If she had that kind of power, I think her using the N-word would have more impact. This woman is on a Home and Garden television show that ain't that none of y'all heard of, and ain't that none of y'all watched. Even when I went and tried to see some episodes, I had to dig deep. I was like, this woman is impossible to find. I don't care if she uses the N-word. Zach just asked if Martha Stewart said the N-word. She didn't, but Paula Deen did. Yeah. Man, Martha Stewart loved Black folks. Martha Stewart smokes weed with Snoop. Her and Snoop are best friends. They kick it. They've done, like, TV shows together.
Do you think he lets her say it?
No, she wouldn't want to say it. I saw a documentary on her life, and I think that Martha Stewart endeared herself to Black people because she was just sick of white people. I think that's what it was. Like, her life is fascinating. She was always, like, driven and a go-getter and a man-eater. Like, no man could keep up with her. Here's what's crazy about Martha Stewart. When her show was on, she used to have, like, a show on Saturdays or Saturdays, I think, like Saturday mornings. And it was in the 90s. I was like a teenager. I used to watch it every week. This woman is, like, making cupcakes and cookies. And this is how you decorate your home if you're having sophisticated guests for a dinner party. And I was riveted. I don't know what it was about Martha Stewart. Maybe it was that milfy nature of Martha. I don't know what it was, but I used to love Martha Stewart. And I wasn't the only Black person. Y'all need to stop lying. Y'all love Martha Stewart, too. It's something about her. I don't know what it was. But Snoop saw it. Let's talk to someone who is probably very familiar with Martha Stewart. Hi, Bob. Hello, Sherwin.
Oh, boy, right off the bat, you started messing with me. Well, listen, running for governor and then you're tired. Which one is it?
Huh?
You can't get tired till you're about 65, man. Then you can get tired. You ain't got you bring up too many good topics to get tired. That's number one.
Bob, understand where my exhaustion. Stop talking. Understand where my exhaustion is coming from. Yes, I do bring up good points, or at least I think I do. But nobody is listening. Nobody is moving. Nobody is acting. That is exhausting. Imagine saying the same thing, which I'm sure that many people have had this experience with you, saying the same thing over and over, having to repeat yourself and don't nothing change. That is exhausting.
Well, you don't have time to get tired. You until you're 65. Then you can get tired. And leave my D alone, man. He gives good examples of how hard he works, and to the young men. And you leave that man alone.
He goes in a YouTube channel. He's actually on a timeout right now because he doesn't take anything seriously. And that's one thing that I can't stand from black people is when we're talking about something serious, about our future, and we act buffoonish. Dude is in the YouTube chat every single morning laughing about how he still supports Trump. He's a buffoon. And I'm not platforming. He can go on somebody else's show and do that mess. You ain't going to do it here. There's some days we joke around and we play around. But there's other days where we got to take stuff real serious because I'm starting to see the diminishment of black people and black progress at the hands of white folks that are afraid of us. And that's nothing to joke about. That's not funny to me.
Okay, well, listen. I raised these 3 kids by myself, and I had to move to an all-white area. And I wasn't scared. I think that's more sensible than all my relatives and friends had their kids in a Catholic school, so you paying 2 taxes. I figure go to an all-white area where they got all the white, secrecies and all the good stuff, But I found when I went to a PTA meeting,
You went to a PTA meeting?
Oh, yeah, man. I told you, 5, 6, and 7, I raised them until they was grown, man. It was, and I had a back-breaking job, but I was able not to send them to Chicago schools because they like Milwaukee schools in a way. And I used my sister's address, my friend's address.
So you committed fraud. So, Bob, where did you live when you were raising your children? Because Racine, Chicago, Milwaukee, where'd you live?
When my father died, he left me enough money, $10,000, I guess,
Bob, where did you live when you were raising your children?
Arlington Heights, when they became freshmen in high school. They were stair steps, 5, 6, and 7,
But didn't you say that they liked Milwaukee schools? When were they ever in Milwaukee?
Oh, no, they never went to Milwaukee school. I was in Illinois when I raised them all the way. It's just that I drove a bus in Milwaukee and for MPS, and then kids, I had to stop the bus all the time.
So your kids were living in Illinois, but you drove to Milwaukee to be a bus driver.
Oh no! Okay. When I finished raising, them,
Bob, I don't think we're not getting anywhere. So it wasn't me, was it? Didn't he say his kids love Milwaukee schools, but then he was a bus driver from Milwaukee, but he never lived in Milwaukee, and then his daddy left him some money. His daddy left him $10,000. See, this is why we can't get nowhere. I need to take a break. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be back for hour 3.
This Black History Moment is sponsored by Educators Credit Union and Tayback Law.
Fred Hampton was born on August 30th, 1948, and assassinated on December 4th, 1969. We've all heard the fiery speeches. We've all heard the stories of his charismatic leadership as the chairman of the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party. But Minister Fred Hampton, or Black Moses as he was dubbed, was much more than that. Fred Hampton believed that the only way to create lasting change in this country was for the poor and underprivileged to join forces. With this in mind, in April of 1969, Fred Hampton announced the creation of the Rainbow Coalition, a coalition that would be used to fight police brutality amongst a list of other things. With all that's going on in our country today, we could use a Black Moses. 57 years later, and here we are again with the poor and underprivileged needing to unite once again. Let's see who steps up.
This Black History Moment is sponsored by Educators Credit Union and Tayback Law.
Day 1, diagnosis day. The hardest day. The day you hear,
I'm sorry, this is a type of blood cancer.
But day 1 is just one day. At the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, we are here to help you move past day 1.
On day 45, I discovered an online community who shared great tips for in-treatment care.
I missed a lot of school during treatment, and LLS helped me keep up.
We are here for you. We exist for everyone fighting leukemia, lymphoma, myeloma, and other types of blood cancer.
On day 185, LLS helped me file my insurance claims properly.
Day 5,840 and counting, and I'm still in remission.
To learn more and get help on day 1, day 2, day 983, or any day, please visit LLS.org or call 1-800-955-4572. That's LLS.org, 1-800-955-4572.
Want to protect our planet? The air we breathe, water we drink, and land we share? Real progress begins with birds. Yes, birds. The very ones we see and hear every day. On a walk, in the park, or simply out the window. That's because birds are more than birds. They're symbols, sentinels that reveal the health of our planet and our people. And by helping them thrive, all of us thrive as well. Audubon is a place where birds matter, where habitats are protected, where communities are engaged, and where change takes flight. Because at Audubon, hope begins with birds. Progress begins with birds. It all begins with birds. Audubon.
Listen to the man who tells you exactly how he sees it. The Truth in the Afternoon with Dr. Ken Harris every weekday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. on 101.7 FM, 1510 AM WGKB Waukesha and W269DL Milwaukee, a locally owned Good Karma brand station. More of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes is next on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Welcome to Hour 3 of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. I got some people a little hot yesterday when I was talking about not just the dollar amount that black churches collect. So it's 15.3 million African Americans who are sitting in church pews every single Sunday, giving an average of $36.50 in donations to the church. That amounts to $558 million every Sunday. And there is some variation in that number because people sometimes give more than $36.50, sometimes they give less. Sometimes people are giving at church, sometimes they're not. They say the estimate on an annual basis is as high as $35.6 billion just from African Americans contributing to their places of worship. The entire religious donation amount for all denominations and all races of people in a year is about $140 billion. So African Americans who are 12 and a half, 13, maybe on a good day, we're 14% of the American population, give a full 25% of all of the money that churches and religious organizations receive. And then I took it a step further, and this is what made people so very upset. There are basically three large banks, PNC, Chase, and Wells Fargo. They receive about 75% of the black parishioners' money that we give to the church. The churches they deposit that money rather in these three banks. And two of those three banks are responsible for not just evaporating black wealth, but they engineered the home foreclosure crisis. And if they do provide loans to African American potential home buyers, those loans are much more likely to be predatory, and they're much more likely to end in home foreclosure, where the banks then sell those foreclosed properties to individuals like, you know, the guy that you guys don't like that owns all the properties, and then he turns around and rips black people off. Our lack of financial fluency and our lack of education is harming us in ways that we don't even see coming. And I'm not telling people to not donate to their church, but just know that where your church deposits that money is the fate of your community. 12% of black churches deposit their money in a black-owned bank. If that number just moved to 30%, we can increase black home ownership exponentially.
We could provide business loans to black entrepreneurs that are not predatory. In fact, the black church is on the list of top 20 largest industries in the United States, and it is a nonprofit. And I know we have a lot of churches here in Milwaukee, and faith is very important to people, and I'm not diminishing that. But I'm trying to point out all of the ways that we may be unaware that are hurting and harming us. And I don't blame people when they don't know, because you don't know what you don't know. And so what I do, try to do anyway, try my level best to do is provide folks information so at least they have more choices, I suppose. So Milwaukee is a particular case. So, you know, we've got this issue with education. Either black kids are really, really dumb, or somebody is impacting our children's education. And then when I look at who that somebody might be, I look at who every so often gets caught on a hot mic and what they say. And I imagine, wow, what if that person that gets caught on a hot mic that talks about black children like they're less than human, like what if they're an educator? Do you think that they're going to put their all into educating a black child when you know how they feel about us? And it's so interesting because every single black person will say, oh, all white people are racist. We know that. Yet we send our kids to them. Isn't that the best part? Sure, when they're all racist. I'm not shocked when they say the N-word. But you know that you're sending your child to be educated by them. Oh, I guess I never thought about that. Well, they're not going to poorly educate my child. That's the first thing they're going to do. Think about it. If they're not sending their kids to the public schools you send your kids to, they're paying tuition, sometimes a lot, to make sure their children, the children of educators, never step foot in a public school. They go to St. Joan Antietam. They go to Divine Savior, Pius, Whitefish Bay Dominican, Thomas More, the list goes on. And they'll pay money. They're paying money to send their kids away from yours. Do you think that they're going to give your children the same education that they're paying for their kids? Please be practical for a moment. I know that it's an emotional topic. Do you realistically think, if I'm paying $30,000 a year to send my kids to this school and I'm an educator, do you think that I'm going to give your public school child a $30,000 a year education? I will not. In fact, I want your kid gone. I want to expel your kid. But at the same time, well, we need more money for public education. No, you need more money for your salary because the cost of private school tuition is going up. That's exactly what that is. If the worst public schools in the state of Wisconsin are concentrated on the north side, I think more people need to get caught on hot mics that are educating our kids so we can have a better perspective of this. And I said all that to say this. If you're a candidate running for governor, if you can't address that issue directly, I just don't want to talk to you. And I'm clearly not going to vote for you. So I'm hoping somebody wants the black vote. There's this other thing we have going on in the city of Milwaukee, right? So we have a lot of nonprofits. I think I might have alluded to this yesterday. We also have a lot of churches, and that was like the last probably half of my show. I was talking about the economic and financial impact that churches have on our community, and the banks the churches deposit their money in has actually deleted several $1 trillion worth of black equity. So our reparations is basically that. If we were homeowners and had that equity, and even as of right now, black neighborhoods are undervalued on average about 23% just because black people live there. The only reason that they're undervalued at 23% is just because black people live there. And there's some affluent black neighborhoods, but if you replace the black people in those affluent neighborhoods and make it a white affluent neighborhood, the property values go up nationwide $156 billion. You can literally measure racial discrimination in dollars. Right now, Joe Biden actually came up. His statistic, his Department of the Interior, HUD, that's what it was, HUD, told us, and they did a survey, they did a study, black neighborhoods are undervalued, black homes, by $156 billion for no other reason than the fact that black people live there. Now, here's what you're probably thinking, like, no, Sherwin. There's a lot of crime in black neighborhoods. That's why the property is so undervalued. I'll humor you only for a second. When you have neighborhoods of 90+% black homeowners, you don't have crime like that, but the property is still undervalued. Some of you have like Milwaukee confused with the rest of the nation because we'll have homeowner, renter, homeowner, renter, homeowner, renter, land contract, renter, homeowner. There are some places and spaces in the United States where homeowner, renter, homeowner. You say homeowner 47 times fast and see how you make it. So we have all these nonprofits here because we have a situation in a city where we can't eliminate poverty because, no, why would we do that? But we want to make people much more comfortable in it. We want to provide them resources and food subsidies and energy assistance and rent assistance and Section 8 and all of the things. So it's not about eliminating poverty because you know how you eliminate poverty? Education. And we're not going to do that because you can't have black people being competitive because we'll beat white people. And they're not here to be beaten. What was the whole point of them even colonizing this country if they were just going to let the slaves beat them? Because some of them still see us as that. And I want us to internalize that. And don't let it make you angry. Let it motivate you to be driven. Like this, we know this is how they feel. What are we going to do about it? Because right now we are sending our children to them. And the product that we are getting as far as education goes is, let's just say, is less than desirable. And they're going to ask us for more money for this less than desirable education product. So I'm like, well, we need more money, right? But stop asking taxpayers for it because people's rents are going up because of the most recent referendum. The rent was going to go up anyway, but when they ask for another referendum, and they will, your rent is going to go up again. My property taxes have gone up. This is the highest I've ever paid for property taxes. I've been in my house 22 years, and it's going to continue to go up. So I was like, okay, well, we need more revenue, but stop squeezing people because wages aren't going up. We still have a $7.25 minimum wage in Milwaukee. You know how many cities have raised their minimum wage? You know the city of Milwaukee can raise the minimum wage whenever they want to. And here's what's crazy. You have 8 black alders. If the black alders are like, hey, in the city of Milwaukee, black people, a.k.a. our constituents, have lower incomes. Maybe we can do like, I don't know, every city in California or in New York or in Washington State or in Oregon. Maybe we can raise the minimum wage in the city of Milwaukee. It'll have no impact and no effect on the state of Wisconsin other than they will receive even more tax revenue from the city of Milwaukee. The Common Council can raise the minimum wage in the city basically whenever they want to. And if, this is a big if now, if the black members of the Common Council said, hey, our constituents, a lot of them are making $7.25 an hour, and that's not enough. Maybe we should require employers to pay a wage where you could at least pay these expensive rents that we have in the city of Milwaukee. And I don't even know what raising that minimum wage would be, but I know it's not $7.25 an hour. They can do that. And there are 8 black Common Council members. They have the majority, but they'll never do it. So if we're not going to raise wages, well, let's look at where the property tax revenue is and where it's going. So I often talk about the number of nonprofits that we have that are, you know, they're designed to help people and make poverty more tolerable, I suppose. But think about this for a second. If you have a nonprofit where maybe you want to help, I don't know, like pregnant women or something, or you want to provide additional educational options, or you want to have an after-school program where there's recreation and you can tutor the black children that aren't doing well in school. Let's say you want to do that and you get a building and you get all the paperwork done and you're also a nonprofit. Well, you're not paying property taxes. And I was thinking, like, wait a minute. If you combine all the nonprofits that we have, like think YMCAs, community centers, now think churches. Got a lot of churches in Milwaukee, not just on the north side. They're all over the place. You got the Lutheran churches and the Catholic churches and the non-denominational churches and the Methodist churches and the Episcopalian churches and all of the churches, okay? And then add on top of that, there's government buildings. Government buildings don't pay taxes. The police station doesn't pay property taxes. City Hall, for its footprint on Milwaukee land, doesn't pay property taxes. Now think of all the government buildings. Think about all of the schools and how much land, how much space they occupy. Of course, schools don't pay property taxes. They collect them, and that is how we pay our teachers, et cetera, et cetera. And so I did a little bit of a dive. How much of Milwaukee's land is exempt from property taxes because it is either a nonprofit, a church, a school, and a government building. Because remember, we fund this city on property taxes. We pave our streets, remove lead laterals, pay our cops, pay our firefighters, pay our teachers, pay all of our city workers, hell, pay the mayor, pay the city attorney, pay the common council, pay the county board, pay the county executive, pay the Department of Parks to cut the grass and to trim the trees. Think about all this. You ever go down Wisconsin Avenue and they put up the Christmas lights in the Christmas time? Property taxes paying for that. How much money are we losing? How much money is not being collected in property taxes because of the number of nonprofits, government buildings, churches, and schools? I'm going to take a break. I'll come back. I'm about to shock you with this. And I don't know if there's a way out of it, because you can't tell a government building that it now needs to be a for-profit. You can't tell the YMCA that it has to pay property taxes. But I just want to share with you the dollar amounts that we are missing out on because we have so much space, area, and land dedicated to nonprofits, churches, schools, and government buildings. And the revenue that is not being collected from that land is coming out of your pocket in a city where the minimum wage is still the federal minimum. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. I'll be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com. The award-winning 1017 The Truth proudly celebrates Black excellence and the most monumental moments in our history. Tune in for Dr. Ken's Trivia, spotlighting powerful facts and moments you need to know. And Tori Lowe's Our Voices, Our Stories, amplifying the youth, perspectives, and lived experiences that define who we are. Celebrating Black excellence, celebrating our history. All month long on 1017 The Truth.
Hi, this is Sherwin Hughes from 1017 The Truth, and I want to talk to you about something bigger than just buying a house. I'm talking about building a legacy. Owning a home isn't just about four walls and a roof. It's about giving your kids a place where memories are made, where birthdays are celebrated, and where they always belong. It's about planting roots, knowing your neighbors, waving from the porch, and being a part of a community that feels like family. If you've been renting and wondering if home ownership is even possible, Axe Housing is here to work with you. An Axe Housing coach will help you create a plan, a budget, and move step by step toward owning a place you can truly call your own. They've already helped over 4,000 families become homeowners, and many are paying less than they were paying for rent. Don't let where you are today stop your family's tomorrow. Start your journey at axehousing.org. That is ACTShousing.org. Your legacy begins at home.
I walk on the shoulders of giants who have come before me.
I am ASAP and Maya Angelou.
I am Marva Collins and Frederick Douglass.
From A to Z, I celebrate, emulate, and commemorate their example.
This is part of the Declaration of Excellence Milwaukee College Prep Scholars recite, not just during Black History Month, but each and every morning, because our students don't just honor history, they're determined to shape it. Enroll your scholar at MilwaukeeCollegePrep.com.
Life's better with Drive My Way from American Family Insurance, because we know it's more than just a car. It's your escape pod, your adventure mobile, your memory maker. And we help protect the dreams that drive you. Personalize what you pay for auto insurance and you could save between 10 and 35%. American Family Insurance. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
Products, pricing, and availability vary based on the way you purchase insurance and by state. Unsafe driving behaviors may increase your rate. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating companies, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
This is The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Owning a home isn't just about four walls and a roof. It's about giving your kids a place where memories are made, where birthdays are celebrated, and where they always know they belong. It's about planting roots, knowing your neighbors, waving from the porch, and being a part of a community that feels like home. If you've been renting and wondering if home ownership is even possible, Axe Housing is here to help.
An Axe Housing coach will help you create a plan, build a budget, and move step by step toward owning a place you can truly call your own. They've already helped over 4,000 families become homeowners, and many are paying a lot less than what they're paying for rent. Don't let where you are today stop your families tomorrow. Start your journey at axehousing.org. That is ACETS housing.org. Your legacy begins at home. So go buy a house, everybody, and live happily ever after. But just know you're going to be paying property taxes, but that's okay, right? That's all right. Because we want the police officers and the firefighters, and we want the schools and the teachers. And you got to be able to pay the mayor because he has to mayor. You got to pay your alder people so they can alder. You got to pay your county board supervisors so they can supervise. And you got to pay the county executive so he can county exec. So we pay property taxes for the services that we receive. When it snowed quite a bit this winter, didn't it? And then eventually the people come in the plows and they move the snow and they block the end of your driveway, and then you're stuck at the end of your driveway and you die there. That's so we got to have snow removal, and sometimes we get the holes in the streets. You got to repair the potholes. You got to pave the streets. I don't know where those people are, but there's street pavers, and we got to pay for all that stuff with our property tax dollars. And for the property taxes that we pay, we get all these wonderful services that make Milwaukee very nice. What else do we get? We get we got buses. You want to go somewhere? You get on the bus. I don't know where it's going to take you, but you can get on the bus and go places. There's even dedicated lanes for buses. There's even dedicated lanes for bikes. There's a lot of bike lanes. And there's bump outs, too, and there's all sorts of traffic calming measures so that people don't drive recklessly. But you know what's crazy? They still found a way to still drive recklessly. We spent $75 million of your property tax money to, make people not drive recklessly. Honestly, between me and you, don't tell nobody I said this, I think it's worse. Because where there were two lanes and now there is only one lane, the things that people will do to get in front of you or to get ahead of you when there used to be two lanes and now there's one lane, and then you have a bike lane and you just have a gigantic slab of concrete in the middle of everything. And don't forget about the speed bumps. Speed bump or speed hump? Hump or bump? Speed hump. There's a bunch of those, too. And if you're not paying attention, you will be launched into the stratosphere. You ever take a new route home? Just take a new route. Yeah, you're going down a different street this time. And you ain't been down that street in a few years. And you're driving down the street now. You're driving. You've always driven down the street. It's just been a while since you've driven down the street. And then all of a sudden, you're in the air because you hit a speed bump and you didn't know the speed bump was there. I'm just saying your property taxes paid for that. All right, here we go. It gets kind of complicated here. 22 to 26 square miles. Now remember, Milwaukee is 96 square miles. But 22 to 26 square miles of that 96 square miles, this is the city of Milwaukee, not the county. Big difference. I hope you know the difference. The county includes the suburbs, but the suburbs are different cities. The city of Milwaukee is one city out of 19 cities in the county. West Allis is in Milwaukee County. West Allis is not in the city of Milwaukee. You know what's crazy? I have to clear that up for people. West Allis has their own common council. They elect their own mayor. When you go vote, and if you live in the city of Milwaukee and you get your ballot and it's a mayoral election, you don't see mayors for other cities, just like other cities don't see mayor for Milwaukee. St. Francis, Cudahy, Oak Creek, River Hills, Brown Deer, Greendale, Greenfield, Glendale all have their own mayors. Wauwatosa has their own mayor, their own common council, so does Bayside, okay? So we have that differentiated. The city of Milwaukee, one of those cities in Milwaukee County, is 96.1 square miles. Clearly we're the largest. But between 23 and 27% of Milwaukee's total land area is exempt from property taxation because the land is owned and used by nonprofits, churches, schools, universities. Oh, I forgot about hospitals, government entities, parks, and other tax-exempt institutions. So you got to keep in mind, about a quarter of our land is collecting no property taxes. If it was collecting property taxes, we would have millions more. I think the details of the article that I have here says just churches alone, this is going to trip you out. Just churches, not including all those other buildings,
churches occupy the assessed value of all, because some churches are real big. And if you add up all of the land, the assessed land, and the value of the land the churches are on, it's almost $1 billion, collecting zero property tax dollars. But the money has to come from somewhere. And of course, we don't want to tax churches because that's not fair. But the money is going to have to come from you. And most people are like, you know what, fine, if I got to pay property taxes, I got to pay them. But at the same time, wages are not going up. And if we have a quarter of our land that is exempt from property taxes and we need that money for all of those services that I mentioned and a whole bunch more that I did not, and wages are not going up, we are squeezing the people in the city of Milwaukee. And if you believe that African Americans have lower incomes, which whether you believe it or not, it's true, why aren't the majority 8 members of the 15-person Common Council voting to raise the minimum wage like cities have been doing since Obama was president? When Obama raised the federal minimum wage, so if you're a federal contractor, I think he raised it to $10 an hour like in 2009. And a bunch of cities were like, oh, you know what? We're going to raise our municipal minimum wage, too. That doesn't impact the state. A bunch of different cities in California have raised their minimum wage, but the state of California probably still has the federal minimum. But if you live in San Jose or San Francisco, your minimum wage might be $22 an hour. In New York, it might be $15, $16, $17, $18, $19 an hour. And even the last several political election cycles, a lot of states have raised their minimum wages because they know that, you know, everything's getting more expensive, and $7 an hour is not cutting it. Milwaukee should do the exact same thing. Let's talk to someone who I know makes more than minimum wage. Hello, Al. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. I think they're not trying to raise minimum wage because there's a certain culture that's stopping the progression of Milwaukee. And I really wish that culture will move up to Fond du Lac or Oshkosh because they'll fit right in, or they can go up to Beloit and Rockford because that's really what's tearing the inner city down. It's not us, the black people, and it's not the Mexicans. It is a certain culture that is allowed, and I call it self-destruct. Just going to let that culture keep doing what they're doing, and we can continue to raise taxes and rape their bank account like little whores because they ain't going to have no choice. And as long we keep some little baby projects where they can spend $2 a month for rent, they can keep that same culture there so we can use them as an excuse to pull back on some of the services that the inner city needs. See, they think they slick, but they ain't nothing but meth babies and crazy check babies. And I think some of the people who's over on taxing us, I think some of them is mentally retarded and they ain't took their Zoloft and they ain't took their Prozac. But if you really want to bring a neighborhood down or bring a city down, just let a certain culture keep doing what they're doing and then say, there's nothing we can do. And see, because when you look at what's going on, why would you move somebody from closer from the curb to middle of the street where they can get hit? That's dumb. That's like washing your hands before you do number two. So you're going to park next to the curb, but you're going to move them farther from the curb where they can get hit by a goddamn bus or uninsured Malibu. Who does that? But that's because it's a certain culture that's allowed. Now, when you in Whitefish Bank, you see it's nice, it's neat, it's clean. Now, I know some of them drive like they might be on meth or they might have a couple of shots of that Wisconsin brand whiskey or they've been drinking that Low and Brawl. But it's a certain culture and a certain standard. But here in Milwaukee, there's nothing we can do. Lego Miego, it's nothing we can do. Oh, they're going to run. We can't do this. Oh, well, we know we have all this. So we're going to put baby projects right in the inner city because the only thing we know they're good for is paying cheap rents and going to the corner stores where you got six liquor stores in a 4-block radius. And that's why we're going to continue to get taxed because they really don't have no vision. But if you took that culture out, then they would change their vision. But because they allow a certain culture, then we can continue to do what we do. So that's why it's happening, because they wouldn't allow it in their neighborhood. But they figure, hey, it's black folks. Let that other culture mix right in with them, and we'll continue to rape their little bank account like little whores.
Oh.
And you'll see what's happening. Have a great day.
Oh, you too. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. All right then now. Okay. That's pretty good. I mean, he can get his point across without, you know what I mean? They're taking a lot of money out of our bank accounts. They're not forcibly having intercourse with our bank accounts. There's a difference. Just to give some examples, ladies and gentlemen, and I don't know what we do to change this, but I think it's notable. The total number of tax-exempt properties in the city of Milwaukee is almost 10,000. It's 9,854. Buildings, dwellings, places, and spaces that collect zero property tax dollars. I mean, it is what it is, right? The total exempt real estate value of the 9,854 properties is $4.7 billion. That's a lot of money. The total assessed real estate value is $27.67 billion. The exempt share of the assessed value is 17%. So this is money that we are literally losing. Large institutional users like universities, hospitals, churches, public schools, government campuses, parks consume far more land per dollar of assessed value than residential or commercial properties. Tax-exempt land in the city of Milwaukee is between 23 and 27% of total city land area. I mean, it's collecting zero property tax dollars. Therefore, the estimated tax-exempt land area is as much as 26 square miles. Government buildings and infrastructure take up 9 square miles. Public schools take up 4 square miles. Universities and colleges, 4 square miles. Hospitals and medical system, 3 square miles. Churches and religious campuses, 3 square miles. Parks and public open spaces, 5 square miles. That is square mileage that is not collecting any property tax dollars, but the money's got to come from somewhere because we got to pay for all of the schools. And we got to pay for the teachers and the mayors and the common councils and the county executives and the county boards. And you got to pay for the Department of Public Works. And you got to pay for the snow removal. And you got to pay for the salt. And you got to cut the grass in the vacant lots. And you got to cut the grass. And you got to plant the trees on the boulevards. And you got to hang the Christmas lights. And you got to do all of the things. And you got to pay the We Energies bill for City Hall. And you got to pay Jose Perez's salary. You got to pay Jocasta's and Maria's salary. You got to pay the salary from the property taxes. But a quarter of the city's land doesn't collect any property taxes, so the money got to come from you. Take a break, come back. Oh, look, Miss Shack is online too. We'll talk to her next. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be back shortly.
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes returns after this on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
The road to the championship ends here. The best of the best, the City Championship Gold Division. One game, one title, one team raising the trophy. After a season of battles, buzzer beaters, and unforgettable moments, it all comes down to this. Who's built for the pressure? Who's ready to make history? Listen live on 1017 The Truth and on the Truth app, your home for City Championship basketball.
Do you hear that? And that? And that? Those are the sounds of a healthy and vibrant community. And to this United Way volunteer, nothing sounds better. They're the sounds of children being given greater chances to succeed in school. The sounds of neighbors receiving the support needed to overcome challenges, both big and small. They're the sounds of families gaining access to quality health care and nutritious food for their tables. And they're the sounds of members of our community who've benefited from United Way's financial education programs. See, wherever there's a need in our communities, there's a United Way. People working together to respond and growing the good for everyone. United is the way. So join us by getting involved or giving back. Learn more at unitedway.org.
Real talent is defined by what people can do, not where they learn to do it. So by stopping at the education section of a resume, you might throw away the perfect hire. You might miss someone who has valuable skills to offer to help your business thrive right now and in the future. Because the truth is this: Skills First Hiring helps you see talent others miss, like more than 70 million stars, skilled through alternative routes. When you let their story unfold, you gain a competitive advantage, because hiring managers who start with skills are 60% more likely to find a successful hire. See the real person, complete. See what others miss. Hire skills first. Learn why it's a competitive advantage at tearthepaperceiling.org. Brought to you by Opportunity at Work and the Ad Council.
You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
It starts with a spark, and at Milwaukee College Prep, that spark turns into something extraordinary. From age 3 through 8th grade, Milwaukee College Prep nurtures brilliance, building scholars with knowledge, character, and confidence. 88% of students face economic hardship, but that does not define them, because at Milwaukee College Prep, every child's potential shines with 4 campuses and one powerful mission, which is college and beyond. Milwaukee College Prep is free, high-performing, and open to all Milwaukee families. Visit MilwaukeeCollegePrep.com to enroll or get involved. That is Milwaukee College Prep, where Milwaukee's future begins to shine. Hey there, Linda. Hey there, now. Hey.
Good morning, Professor. Good morning to your producers, and good morning to all the good black and white people of Milwaukee, 101.7 The Truth, and America. Hey, Sherwin.
Hi.
Sherwin, I'm about to get bold.
Oh, Lord.
Right now. Oh, yes, because, baby, it's time to fight fire with fire. They got an N-word for us, Sherwin. They don't mind using. But we so such peaceful, docile people. We have an N-word that we don't use. Huh? And we even kind of clamor if we do use it. That's how docile and peaceful we are. But I'm saying fight fire with fire.
So you want us to call white people N-words right back?
Yes, Neanderthal.
Oh.
Neanderthals. It's worse than the N-word they call us.
No, it's not.
Hello.
Technically,
because
it is. Linda, here's the thing. Let me just, and I appreciate where you're coming from. There is no word that a black person can call a white person that has the impact that the N-word has on us, because we have tried. In fact, most racial epithets that we have for white people are comical. You think a white person would, you call them a Neanderthal, oh my God, I'm going to have you canceled, I'm going to have you fired. They'd be like, oh, okay. Well, guess what, N-word? I'm going to move into your neighborhood and gentrify it. How's that for a Neanderthal? Hey, guess what, N-word? I'm going to have you written up and fired. Hey, N-word, I'm going to pull you out of your vehicle and search your car and then plant some dope and you're going to go to prison. How's that for a Neanderthal? Those words don't work on them like that.
You know what you're saying? You know what you're saying? You are re-solidifying our second-class citizenry, because you're saying we have no power. You're saying we have no comeback. We have no stance to stand against these people because they have all the power.
Yeah, kind of, in a roundabout sort of way. Think about it, Linda. We're 14% of the population on a really good day. Some of us are our children. Some of us are in prison. Some of us are disconnected, detached, illiterate, etc. What kind of impact can, I'm going to say 6% of the American population actually have on 94%? Now, locally, we can have a lot of impact, but can we, as an example, if we don't want white people voting in an election, can we take away their right to vote? Can we make it more difficult for them to get jobs, to get opportunities? Can we make it more difficult for them to get a mortgage? Can we make it more difficult for them to get a promotion at a company that their uncle owns? We cannot. They own the institutions and the structure. So I'm not saying that we don't have the ability to fight back. Like in our local communities, we can have a tremendous amount of impact. I just talked about churches yesterday. And if churches put their money in black-owned banks, black-owned banks could increase the loans and business, with other black entrepreneurs. create home loans for black people that are not predatory, et cetera. In fact, we could increase the reach of resources to the black community by 10 times if only 30% of black churches put their money in black banks.
Yes.
So those are things that we can do, but as far as changing the system, there's not enough of us, and we would need a bunch of allies to do that. Mm-hmm. The problem is, even the people we think are allies don't like black people.
Yep, and we don't like each other. So what do we have? We've been programmed, indoctrinated, to subconsciously dislike our own.
We are colonized. But you can't blame black people for a situation that we didn't create.
Yeah.
And in order for us to leave the colony, we have to literally leave this country, which, again, none of us are going to do.
No, we just go to church and reprogram, relearn, and utilize the resources that we have. The church is highly overlooked and underrated.
Linda,
yes,
the church is giving its tithing money and its donations to white banks that are gentrifying our community. So I don't know if the church.
That's why I'm saying let's rethink and reimagine the value of the church in our black community. We have to do something different.
Okay.
We can't keep doing the same old thing.
That's right. So reimagining the church is where we're going to begin.
Well, that's one step. And, of course, education is always the forefront. Come on.
All right, now. How do you think we accomplish that? Yeah, I thought so. It's tough.
We need more time. We need more time. It's because black people are special people.
Okay.
But guess what?
Yes.
We are God's people, and we are chosen people. That's what makes us special. And the enemy is doing everything to make us believe that we are not. And see, that's what I'm saying. We have to counter the mental, intellectual programming that's going on, the reverse psychology. The war is psychological. It's not social. It's not religion. It's psychological. And that's where we have to start, in the church, in the mind, in the soul.
All right, now.
My leg hurt now.
You said your leg is hurting? Oh.
Yeah, I still got this pinched nerve. Mm-hmm. When I get happy and everything, you bring up topics that make us happy, glad, sad, mad, and sometimes horny. And I'm just, I'm ready to be horny. I'm tired of this mad topic because it makes me so angry because we have answers right here in our faces. We have the answers. We've been shown the way. We've had leaders pave the way and shown us what to do. And we still sitting by complaining and not doing nothing. I'm sorry. Gotta go, Sherwin. Bye-bye.
Bruh. Did she say that? So first, are my topics both pinching her nerve and making her horny? So if you want to know why we're not getting anywhere, that's because people have pinched nerves and they're horny. So there's always that. She could have said all that without the horny part. All right, let's talk to hopefully an unhorny Brandon. You're on 101.7 The Truth. How are you?
I'm good. How about you, Sherwin?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I hear that. Well, hopefully this time you can let me get my full thought off. I think if you step back and listen to, community members calling in or even some of your commentary, a lot of it comes off as fairly conservative. I think black people, there are solutions for us, and I think that solution is to dominate where we're dominant. If you look at the city of Milwaukee's budget, if you look at the institutions that are the vast majority of where our property taxes go, they're dealing with billions of dollars. We should have an inside lane to those procurements, to those contracts, to those opportunities in the same manner that Atlanta has afforded their African-American business community.
We do.
Too often, though, we really don't.
No, we 100% we do. So I want to explain something to you because I don't want you speaking on something that you may not be familiar with. So I worked in the city of Milwaukee's Department of Procurement. Now, they can't designate contracts by race, but they can designate contracts by business size. The overwhelming majority of African-American owned and minority-owned businesses are under $10 million, and there are absolutely contracts set aside for that. And the state of Wisconsin actually even has a minority business contracting program where you got to be black, you got to be Hispanic to get some of these contracts. Here's the problem with that, Brandon. Come November, there's going to be a referendum that makes all of that illegal. So, yes, absolutely, we have an inside track. In fact, we've had it in the city of Milwaukee since 1989. And because African Americans don't know about it, I can't. That's not my fault, and it's not our fault. But they're going to make that unconstitutional. All of the things that where we do have the inside track, and you're 100% right, are going to be made unconstitutional by a Republican referendum that's going to appear on the ballot in November, and it's going to pass. So we have until November to get the contracts, and hopefully they're multi-year, but then once they run out, minority contracts designated to people that have been underserved are going to be unconstitutional. So a white contractor will lose the contract, sue, and win. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Do I have an opportunity? So, my brother actually worked in the minority SBE contracting, and you're absolutely right. The sizing of these African-American firms typically isn't large enough to garner those much larger and more extensive contracts like you might see a Michaels get. But just like Atlanta did, there was a technical assistance and an increase in the aptitude of minority firms before dispersing these kinds of opportunities. And I don't agree that we have the inside lane because there's a significant amount of that budget that does not touch the hands of African-American businesses. And I think a big part of the problem is that there's not clarity on direction. You can put forth your ideas, I can put forth mine. The only difference with me is that I'm open to listening to ideas that I may not accept, and I think other, particularly older African Americans, need to have the same mindset.
Can I give you an example because you brought up Atlanta? In 1973, yes, Maynard Jackson was elected mayor of Atlanta, and he made his whole platform on black people are going to do and build everything. You're not getting a new airport. You're not getting new roads, new bridges. You're not getting new homes built unless black contractors are doing all of that. So the other thing about the South is that black folks have been a part of the system of the South for 400 years. We are new arrivals up north. And so the opportunities that Atlanta gave black people, whose population was much, much larger, much more political power than we've ever had here in Milwaukee, they have such an incredible head start that it is impossible to do a direct correlation. They have been working on black contracting opportunities in Atlanta. Plus, Atlanta is a gigantic corporate city. Hell, CNN, Coca-Cola, I can't tell you how many other Fortune 500 companies are located in Atlanta. But they have been working on black contracting opportunities for 50 years. Milwaukee has not. So there's a little bit of a difference there as well. So if you're going to make a comparison, do another upper Midwestern city where African Americans are relatively new arrivals. Now, we've been here since the 1800s, and somebody had remarked earlier that Racine and other places are a part of the Underground Railroad. As an example, Waukesha. Waukesha used to have a newspaper called The Freedmen. They were an anti-slavery, abolitionist community, and their newspaper was named The Freedmen because they thought the Milwaukee Journal was pro-slavery, and guess what it was? But now look what happened. Waukesha is probably one of the most conservative voting, Trump-loving counties in the entire country, so things are not always as they seem. Yes, we've had black people in Wisconsin for a very long time, but our mass arrival didn't come until the 1960s. And even then, we were segregated when it came to housing, when it came to schools, and when it came to opportunity. So we are still relatively new as far as being in the political power structure in the upper Midwest. So comparing us to Atlanta is just not quite apples to apples. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Thank you, Milwaukee. Because of you, the second annual Truth Community Awards was an unforgettable celebration of the leaders, changemakers, and heroes who make our city shine. A special thank you to our incredible partners, Milwaukee College Prep, the Milwaukee Bucks Foundation, Gruber Law Offices, Steinhoffels, Cousins Subs, and 3rd Street Market Hall. And thank you to our presenting sponsor, Potawatomi Casino Hotel. Together, we're celebrating community, culture, and impact. We'll see you next year at the Truth Community Awards.
Hi, this is Sherwin Hughes from 1017 The Truth, and I want to talk to you about something bigger than just buying a house. I'm talking about building a legacy. Owning a home isn't just about four walls and a roof. It's about giving your kids a place where memories are made, where birthdays are celebrated, and where they always belong. It's about planting roots, knowing your neighbors, waving from the porch, and being a part of a community that feels like family. If you've been renting and wondering if home ownership is even possible, Axe Housing is here to work with you. An Axe Housing coach will help you create a plan, a budget, and move step by step toward owning a place you can truly call your own. They've already helped over 4,000 families become homeowners, and many are paying less than they were paying for rent. Don't let where you are today stop your family's tomorrow. Start your journey at axehousing.org. That is ACTShousing.org. Your legacy begins at home.
Injured at work, unable to work due to health problems, or denied veteran benefits you're entitled to? Last year, Tayback Law returned over $73 million in wrongfully denied VA and Social Security benefits to people in our communities. Tayback Law celebrates Black History Month by bringing its message to 101.7 The Truth. The team is thrilled to see Milwaukee achieve this exciting new outlet for speaking truth to power. And Tayback Law is always ready to fight for you. Call Tayback for the payback. TaybackAttorneys.com.
Tired of managing your rental property? Or maybe you just don't know where to start? At Odom Investments and Property Management, our professional team handles everything from tenant placement to maintenance and rent collection, so you don't have to. Let us take the stress out of property management. Call 855-ODOM-WAY or 855-636-6929 and experience the Odom Way today.
Life's better with American Family Insurance because we know you love working weekends. If it means working on your dream home, both inside and out. And we're here to help protect those dreams so you can enjoy peace of mind. Save up to 40% when you bundle home and auto. American Family Insurance. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
Products, pricing, and availability vary based on the way you purchase insurance and by state. Some exclusions apply. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating companies, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
It's The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
The award-winning 1017 The Truth proudly celebrates Black excellence in the most monumental moments in our history. For the next 2 days of Black History Month, we're honoring the voices, the stories, and the achievements that have shaped our past, empowered our present, and continue to inspire our future. Make sure you tune into what I think is going to be Dr. Ken's last trivia, spotlighting powerful facts and moments you need to know, and Tori Lowe's Our Voices, Our Stories, amplifying the youth, perspectives, and lived experiences. 1017 The Truth celebration of Black History Month is proudly sponsored by Educators Credit Union. Also, I guess there won't be a Ken's trivia on Fridays. He ain't going to be here. Oh, but he already did one.
So, yeah, the last one for the month we did.
All right, then. So, hope you guys learned a lot from Dr. Ken's trivia. Somebody had mentioned, Anita says, I didn't know that the Common Council could increase the minimum wage. Yeah, they could vote on it. So if I don't know, Andrea Pratt puts together an ordinance, it would go to committee, probably finance and personnel. There's 5 members on that committee. Andrea Pratt would say, hey, people in Milwaukee aren't making enough money. Everything is getting more expensive. Utilities, groceries, gas. Let's raise the minimum wage like they've done in, I don't know, several dozen other cities. And the committee will be like, cool, let's vote for it. And if 3 of the 5 members of that committee vote to raise the minimum wage, let's say to $15 an hour, which I remember the fight for 15, that was 10 years ago. Right now, $15 an hour is not even enough. But let's start with that. So 3 members on the 5-person committee would have to say, yeah, we totally should raise the minimum wage. And then that proposal to raise the minimum wage in Milwaukee to $15 an hour goes to the full council of 15 members for a vote. And a lot of times when the council sees that a proposal made it out of committee, the council often takes the committee's recommendation.
But it might be contentious. You might have some members of the council that don't want to raise the minimum wage because they're worried about some of the businesses in their district that are now going to have to pay their employees a minimum of $15 an hour. So you're not going to get universal agreement. But as long as you have 8 members of the Common Council in any combination, it doesn't have to just be the black ones. I'm just using that as an example because I'm disappointed because I remember all of the years that I've worked either at City Hall or in government, we wished we had a majority African-American legislative body so they could vote for things that defy some of the white supremacy that we've seen for generations in the city of Milwaukee. And now we have it and they don't work together. However, I don't blame them because the black members of the Common Council, are just a reflection of us and we don't work together either. Makes sense to me. So the full council would vote on it. As long as it gets 8 votes, it would pass. Now, here's where it gets tricky. They would then deliver that ordinance to the mayor. The minimum wage could not go up, does not go up. Even if the council passes it, even if it came out of committee with a 5-0 vote or a 4-1 vote or a 3-2 vote, passes the full council. Let's say it passes with 9 votes or with 10 votes or with 11 votes. It should pass with 15 votes because you don't want to be a member of the Milwaukee Common Council that voted no on raising the minimum wage. But then the mayor would have to sign it, and I think that he would because you don't want to be the person that prevents the minimum wage from rising when it came out of committee at a 3-2 vote or a 4-1 vote or a 5-0 vote. Then it passes the Common Council with a 15-0 vote or 8-7 vote or a 9-6 vote or 10-5 vote. Then the mayor, of course, he would sign it. Then the minimum wage would go up, but it wouldn't go up right away. They'd have to slowly roll it out. So what will happen is right now the federal minimum, I think our minimum wage might be $7.50. I don't know why $7.50 is in my mind. We may have raised it 25 cents in the last 20 years. So this is 2026. So let's say by 2027, it'll be $10 an hour. And by 2028, it'll go up to $12 an hour. And then by 2030, it would go up to the full $15 an hour. That is usually how minimum wage increases in cities goes. It's not automatic. It's not overnight. They roll it out over a series of years to allow businesses to adjust to it. Someone in the YouTube chat, because I'm scrolling and skimming the comments, Prosperity says we need foundational Black Americans credit union. But then somebody said something else about the churches. So I have this here. 30% of Black church deposits shifted to Black-owned banks, just 30%, meaning 70% of Black churches can still put their money and their deposits in banks that foreclose on Black property. They still can do that. We're not taking that away from those churches. But if just 30% of the Black churches deposited their money into Black-owned banks, it would double the total Black bank capital nationwide. It would multiply Black business lending capacity by 10 times, and it would dramatically expand home ownership financing with loans that would not be predatory. That's just with 30%. Imagine if every Black church in the country invested or deposited their money, your tithing money, in a Black-owned bank. Hell, churches could probably start their own bank. Now, the problem with that is it would likely be one of the most powerful banks in all of America, and you can't have that. That is one thing that is often kept out of the education of Black people, what to do with money and the power and impact of credit. The number of y'all that have utility bills in your children's names ruining their credit before they turn 7 years old is just a thing of beauty. What do we learn today? The Democrats need to have a much better stance on education. I'll leave it there. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next time.
Parents can expect to use 2,500 to 3,000 diapers in a baby's first year. The Milwaukee Diaper Mission